Hey guys and girls, how's it going? Hope you guys had a great week. So we are back today with another episode of Normandy Newsfeed, your one-stop shop for all things gaming and geek culture related. We're back today with episode 8. Apparently, this is the 8th episode. So we're going to start off today's podcast with the first part, which is What's New?
How you holding up, Skipper?
What is new? What is new? What is new? What's new? What is new?
With you. So I'll kick off first and obviously talk about there's only one game I'm mainly gonna talk about today, and that is Spider-Man 2, which I actually finished this week. I actually finished it after we got back from our holiday, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Dante watched me play it all the way through from start to finish, and it's very good. I actually didn't think that there were going to be... I was like, how are they going to improve on the first Spider-Man and then Miles Morales? But they really, really did. Like, in every way, from like the traversal, all right? It's already very good with the web swinging, but then they introduced like web kind of like glidey wings, web wings, which is awesome. And there's like whole sections where you can like sort of glide through like catch wind currents and stuff like that, and glide along like the Hudson River and stuff like that, and then combine it with the web swinging and stuff. And so traversal's even better, and then combat is improved too. They really improved that in streamlining, and you get to play as both Spider-Man. So you obviously play as Peter Parker and also Miles Morales, which is really cool, because they each have their own style, their own different abilities and attacks and things, so they do really feel different, and it really keeps it fresh. And then they even improved the stealth sections with Mary Jane Watson, right? Mary Jane Watson, right? Yeah, because I hated those in the first game. I hate those kind of like missions where it's like, if you don't perfectly do this stealthy, it's game over, right? Like, I hate that. I never really enjoyed that. And so, but they actually like made her a bit of a badass in the second game, and she has like this like stun gun, which she uses to take down like enemies, and it even gets leveled and like improved as you play through it. But yeah, so those sections were just really, really cool. And then Venom's in it, and Venom pretty much is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains.
Which Venom is it, out of curiosity?
It's actually an original origin story for Venom, and I won't say, because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that wants to play it, but it's not Eddie Brock, it's not
I just meant in general, is because I know that they've got multiple Venoms in the comics now. You've got regular Venom, you've got is it anti-Venom, you've got super Venom, so there's like, and we're not just talking like the different symbiotes like Carnage. It's like Venom has his own several brands. So.
I think it is Venom. It's not like the other ones. But there is a cameo and an Easter egg for Carnage that may be alluding to potential DLC that had me excited. Which is really cool. But there are even sections where you got to play as Venom. And it was awesome. I actually
got very giddy.
squealed. I got, you get very excited, and I was very shocked because he's very brutal. They don't pull no punches, and you're like really shocked, and your voice gets all like, oh my god, like high pitched kind of thing. I was like that. Like as I was playing through it. That's probably why my throat hurts. So yes, I really enjoyed it. I actually kind of want to platinum it, I think, because I enjoyed it that much. And swinging and exploring. And story was good.
Grind those side quests.
Yeah, I know, but the side quests I think are handled fine. Like they're pretty. Other than the side story missions, which are a little bit longer, like they're pretty short and sweet. So because of that, it keeps it fresh. You can jump between like the main story and the side missions pretty quickly. They don't. It's not like Final Fantasy 16 where it's like, oh right, you're on the very last penultimate battle. We're gonna throw 10 or 15 really long-winded side quests at you right now. Like, it's not like that. You know what I mean? So I feel that they handled that better in Spider-Man 2. But yes, I really enjoyed it. And I can see it's going to be in my top 10. It's going to be in my top 10 list this year, without a doubt. What else will be in there? You'll have to wait and see. But yes, it's a worthy nominee, I would say, for Game of the Year. And if you're a PlayStation 5 owner, you absolutely should get it. And if you haven't played the first or second game, like Spiderman and Miles Morales, you absolutely should play those first because it is a complete continuation, and there are a lot of like references to things, and you won't really understand what's going on fully. You can still appreciate it, but you won't appreciate it on the same level unless you play the first and second game. So yeah, that's what I've been playing recently. Fish, what about you?
It's a collection of things. The big one, obviously, being Mario Wonder, which I won't go into too much detail about because I know Dante's likely going to talk about that as well, other than I shall say, and I'll chip in as and when appropriate, but other than I shall say, Mario Wonder was wonderful. The other small collections to it is getting my Pikmin fix, finally got hold of Pikmin's 1 and 2, for the Switch remastered.
Nice.
Burned through Pikmin 1 in a single sitting, burned through Pikmin 2 over multiple sittings. I think Pikmin 2 is the longest of the games, and I will keep banging this drum. For anyone who has not played Pikmin, now is a really good opportunity if you own a Switch to get on board, because you now have all 4 Pikmin games on a single console.
Yeah.
You have Pikmin 1 and 2 in one cartridge, Pikmin 3 Deluxe on another with its DLC, and now the new Pikmin 4. So there is absolutely every opportunity for you to get on board with this franchise. It's wonderful. I hope it gets more love, and I hope we're not waiting another 10 years for another sequel. The other 2 updates are board game related for me. I know a couple of months back I mentioned I was getting back into the Warhammer 40k, and I'd been doing a lot of model making and painting. More recently, I have now actually played 2 full games of Warhammer, which I haven't done since I was 10 years old. And the changes they have made to it as a board game are, with the new 10th edition, much nicer. I know I was trying to give Dante a crash course late at night, and it seemed really complicated. But now that I've actually had 2 proper games with people who know what the hell they're actually doing, no, I was just I was mixing it up way more than I needed to. So I'd say very much it's because there are so many factions to choose and play as. Unless you have a photographic memory, you're not going to learn all the rules. So the best way to play this game, rather than focus on, who am I fighting, what can they do, don't worry about it. Just know what army you pick, know what your strengths and your weaknesses are, and as with any true strategy game, adapt when you come across something that you can't deal with. So it will help you more to understand your ins and outs than understand everyone else's. And the other board game one is just a slightly delightful, more quick play. I have recently picked up a copy of Sushi Go. Sushi Go is a delightful little card game where it mimics the idea of sushi plates going round on a conveyor belt. Everybody starts with a hand of cards. You pick one from your hand and then pass your hand on to the next player. So, depending on how many people are, your hand will eventually get back round to you, but some of the plates that were there originally will then have been taken by other people. So, all these little sushis going around the table, and you've got to pick which ones you want, and your points are dictated on combinations of specific sushi. For example, wasabi, you play a card for wasabi, and then you play a nigiri card on top, which 3 times the value because you've dipped your nigiri in wasabi. Tempura only counts. Yeah, tempura only counts if you have 2 of them. Otherwise, you get no points. What was it? Sashimi. You need 3 pieces of sashimi to get any points for sashimi. So yeah, it's got nice little, quick, easy to learn game. Fun to play, quick to play, and it's a small travel size game, so you can take it with you wherever you go. So that's what's new with me. It's very eclectic at the moment. Lots of little things.
Nice. We played Sushi Go at Dante's birthday. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I've actually added it to my Christmas wish list. So hopefully my parents will buy it for me for Christmas or something.
I'd say the only thing that did catch my attention was the I've recently started educating my nephew and niece in the ways of playing the Pokemon trading card game. I'm going to educate them in proper games. So I was playing with them the My First Battle, which is a nice little set for very early beginners. And in looking at that, I then saw the nice £400 collector's set that has just been revealed, which is a travel briefcase which folds out into a professional playing mat area for 2 players.
Wow.
It comes with 3 complete decks of 60 cards, every single card of which is a holographic card. It comes with nice stackable formed damage counters, and it also comes with 2 little plastic mold counters which show burns, poisons, paralyze. So
wow.
it's gorgeous, but yeah, it's £400, and I'm sat there going, can I justify that?
maybe it'll be in the Christmas sale or the New Year's
Oh, it also
sale.
comes. It also comes with 3 leather deck holders and card protectors for all 3 decks.
I feel like you're talking yourself
At
into
that
buying.
prices.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Awesome. Right, Dante, you obviously want to talk about.
That's all over the place, isn't it? Yeah. Mario Wonder is the first one straight on the bat, and I was so happy getting to like play through a chunk of it again in co-op.
So yeah, I'm glad we got to do that for your birthday.
Like, yeah,
we finished
4 players.
that challenge level.
Oh yeah, those I'd probably still be on those final challenge levels if
you
wasn't
100%
accompanied there.
You 100%.
Yeah, we got it sorted, didn't we? Yeah, such a fun one, like in co-op, and just the imagination and madness on that game is just hilarious.
Need we say more other than the second level, Piranha Plants on Parade?
Oh, that's I loved it.
That was the moment I absolutely fell in love with that game.
Yeah, same. I was like I was just watching you play it, right? I wasn't even playing it with you, and I was just watching you play it, and I was just fixated on it. I was like, this is amazing. I was just properly laughing my head off the entire time. It's just a very joyful game.
Yeah.
There's so much joy and
that's it. It's
that game.
Pleasant to play.
Yeah, and it's full of like delightful surprises, and you just think like, because when I was watching you play, I'm like, there can't be anything else they can possibly throw at us, and I'm like, oh my god, like just so many, it's like just so many different the imagination and the creativity in that game is like nothing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, because I read one of the official Nintendo articles about like the behind the scenes making of it, and like they no deadlines, they just gave themselves all the time in the world to make it. They got ideas, hundreds of ideas from like all the staff, that even the ones that wouldn't normally get in on it, and they were just coming out with all sorts and this and that. And I was okay, yeah, we can do that, we can do this, do that, and there's just so many little and down to the music and such like that. Like those little note blocks and everything. When I started noticing that the HD rumble on the controllers would actually make music, I was like,
so good.
What are they doing? They were like, it was so much fun, and I could just keep playing that, and they included Daisy finally.
Oh yeah, I know.
Get Daisy in there.
You pretty much play Daisy through most of it. Well, to be fair, you jump between all of the characters.
Yeah.
I loved all the little extra details in it, like the little animations and stuff. Like you know when they pop into the pipes and they just stick the hand out and grab the hat and stuff. Or like, you know, it's just so great. It's just great.
I would say what I really loved about it more than anything else, and it really kind of gave it a wholesome feel, was the online play with the ghosts of random people, putting down the statue, putting down the little standees for people to basically either revive themselves on. But again, what I got from it was the same vibe that I got from playing Journey for the first time, in the fact of I'm playing with people who I can't directly communicate with, but the subtleties of like jumping on a spot, the little emojis you can do to whistle or let people know something, and how many people would actually kind of hang back, because it gives you a points kind of play system for finishing the level at the same time as other people, nets you companion points. If you revive people, that nets you companion points, and it just resulted in just people playing together nicely.
Yeah.
People would hang back to show other people where secrets were.
Mm.
Or, to show them how to do a difficult part. They'd drop back down and repeat the move so people could see what you were doing.
Yeah.
And it made me actually go back and play old, like the first 2 or 3, 4, 5 levels. All levels which I'd found all the secrets on, and just hung back to help other people who clearly were struggling. And it just gives it that extra bit of replay value, and it just makes you feel nice inside.
It does. I've never felt so happy like watching a game or even playing a game.
Yeah.
Just very, very good. Just great.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think after the whole Mario Maker thing and the feeling that the new series was like getting a bit
Well,
repetitive.
the new
and all
series
that.
wasn't new, was it?
Yeah,
Let's be
well,
honest.
exactly. Adding those animations, even some of the new voice actors and all this and that, and just making it more alive, it really helped out a bit.
Yes, as there is no more Charles. Charles has
Charles.
retired.
I know. The ambassador that he is.
We're
But
missing.
still was really good. Yeah.
Thank you
and
for all your hard work and years of dedication, Charles.
Yes, he's a legend. Okay, yeah, all very good games. To be fair, like if it wasn't for Baldur's Gate 3, I think actually Mario Wonder would probably be my game of the year. If it wasn't for
Starfield.
Baldur's Gate 3.
It's not Starfield.
Starfield's don't get me. It's not bad. It's not a bad game. It's a good game. It's just not a great game, right?
I'm hearing on the topic of the game of the year, I'm hearing lots of people losing their minds that Hogwarts wasn't even nominated, and everybody's just going, "Well, is it just because it's it's not a bad game, but it's pretty mediocre in comparison to everything else that's on there?"
It's a good game, like. The creativity between Hogwarts Legacy, the way in which they recreated Hogwarts, all of the mysteries and secrets and hidden things, even the story is very good. I think the big downside is it's come out in a year with some absolute bangers, and also it came out much earlier in the year, and you tend to find a lot of games that release early in the year tend to get forgotten about. It's way better than Starfield, that's what I'm going to say. And it's not a bad game, it's actually an excellent game, and the combat was fun, but it just doesn't stand up to other titles in that list.
This year.
Yeah, it's no Tears of the Kingdom, it's not Mario Wonder, it's not Baldur's Gate 3, you know what I mean? So it's just unfortunate, I think, you don't want to release your game too early, but you don't want to release your game too late. Right? Although Alan Wake snuck in there right at the end. Alan Wake 2, apparently. And that's everywhere. So yes, okay, so that's everything we've been playing this month. Obviously, or in the last few months, because it's been a while since we've done one of these. But yeah, let us know what you guys have been playing, obviously, in the comments section below. Share what games you've been playing, what you've been enjoying, any board game suggestions. Please do share those as well in the comment section below. So moving on, this month's podcast is a little bit different because we actually have two main features this month, which is awesome, and some special surprise guests. So the next main feature that we're going to do is actually an interview or a discussion between myself, Dante, Diana, otherwise known as MotherMantiss, and Tim from Ploppy54 Gaming. And we basically talk about the N7Day teaser, N7Day in general, and obviously the next Mass Effect. Really good conversation. So let's cue straight into that.
Spit it out, or are you trying to build suspense?
Right, so we are here today to talk about the Mass Effect N7Day teaser. Obviously, I'm joined today by fellow content creators, colleagues, should we say. So Diana, obviously known as MotherMantiss. Also Tim from Ploppy54 Gaming. Obviously you guys know Dante, of course, who's part of the channel. And we are all, as you probably already know, if you haven't heard of us, we're all massive BioWare fans, Mass Effect fans. So I asked them if they would join me today to talk about the N7Day teaser trailer. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining and taking the time because you guys are busy. I know you guys are busy. So I wanted to obviously talk about the N7Day teaser. I didn't want to break it down and go through it and do a breakdown and have a look at the concept art and anything because we've all done that individually. So the first question I kind of wanted to ask you guys is, what did you guys actually think of N7Day this year compared to previous years? How did you feel about it? Should we start with Dinah?
I'll immediately contribute that I thought it was much, much lower key. It was much shorter, and there was less of it than I expected.
Yeah. Yeah, I would kind of agree. Like, I enjoy, like, the breadcrumbs. So I thought the way in which it was delivered was quite clever in terms of, like, the hidden binary code and the 3 parts to the video. And I enjoyed, like, last year where they did the audio clip that was hidden, you know, Liara, obviously, in the mass relay, whatever it is, last year. So I'm enjoying that side of the N7Day kind of side of things. But for me, it was a 34-second clip that gave nothing away, and it left us with more questions than it did answers. Did anyone else feel disappointed?
I wasn't disappointed. So I thought it was actually more than I was expecting.
Really?
Mainly because I think the most of the focus at the moment is on Dragon Age, and all the team was just working on that. So to have a team making a trailer when they could be doing other things, I thought was quite good. Obviously, would like more. You're left with more questions and answers for everything. But yeah, I was just expecting some like concept art and maybe like another little audio recording and that sort of stuff. So
I love the concept art though. Like, if that's all we had gotten, I would have been perfectly happy with that, because I've enjoyed all the concept art that we've seen so far. Right, and I've been like, oh, this looks interesting. I see elements of the trilogy, elements of Andromeda in there. What's going on, kind of thing. I would have been happy with that. To be fair, I prepared myself that we weren't going to get anything, because I was thinking, are we going to get anything? And I even remember in your prediction stream, Tim, like you talking about that with Craig, right? And sort of like making predictions and being like, I think it'll just be concept art. I don't think we're going to get a trailer or a teaser.
That's what I expected. Concept art, but when we saw the trailer, I was expecting there also to be concept art.
Yeah.
We didn't really get it though, did we?
No.
It was just that one image of the
and one advertising. I mean, the complete marketing.
Please buy our poster to put on your wall. And then the hidden art obviously within it. What did you think of it, Dante?
Yeah, I feel like BioWare have got themselves into we've got to do this every 7th of November. We have to do something, or the fans going to get crazy. So also, it's definitely a marketing jobby. I fully expect that jacket to be to buy at some point.
I would buy that. Although it probably would bury me because I'm very short. So I probably wouldn't even see the bottom of my feet.
You'll be the shortest agent ever.
Exactly. You'd never see me coming. I'd be that tiny.
Full length trench on you.
Exactly. But that trench coat though, we'll talk about that obviously when we talk about the N7 figure. But
so they got the poster and all this and that, and it is kind of cool to drag it out that little bit and let Mike have his trolling. He's got to put his.
He's good at it, isn't he?
He
definitely loves it. So he's definitely in his element on N7Day, and obviously responding to everybody's tweets and just
it was at least something, because it feels like it's still too early for them to reveal anything too big, and of course they don't want to get in the way of Dreadwolf much, so they kind of we'll give him a little something, but not too much.
Do you think we'll get anything, just to go off on tangent, but do you think we'll get anything Dragon Age on Dragon Age Day? Is that in December or the Game Awards?
I should imagine so. Haven't the developers accidentally leaked the release date on their LinkedIn profiles?
Oh really?
Oh, did they now?
When 2024?
Yeah.
It's just 2024. It's not really news. I had hoped it'd come out in 2024, but even then, I'll be surprised anyway. We'll see.
I'm surprised. I really, really hope it does, but I'm not very. I'm normally a very optimistic person, but I'm rather pessimistic about Dreadwolf. I'm nervous it's further out than they're letting on, just because we've seen nothing on it So I hope
True.
Tim's right. I hope it is 2024.
Yeah, hopefully. They're definitely going to have to show something, I think.
Yeah.
For sure.
To be fair, we
Soon.
know pretty much as Mass Effect as we do with Dragon
I
Age.
know, which is what's
Yeah.
concerning. What's so concerning, obviously. Obviously, they were... Go on.
Sorry.
Go on. What you can say?
I don't remember exactly, but I haven't been into gaming that long, so there's only a few games I've ever pre-ordered. I think Dragon Age is the very first game I've ever pre-ordered, and I think I pre-ordered it more than a year out. So I guess if it was going to release in 2024, I would have expected to see something by now, so that because I would pre-order that game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That makes me nervous.
Yeah. I need to book some annual leave off work to make sure I can play it, not get spoiled by the internet. Because that will happen.
You
You know what the
100%
internet's
to
like.
know what date it is, though.
I know. And then they're probably going to delay it, so I might wait until like a few months just before or something. We'll see.
I just wanted to come up. I'm in an assisted living home.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I'm thinking about like the next Mass Effect as well. Like, is that going to be on current gen hardware, or is that going to be a next gen hardware? You know what I mean? Like, how far out actually is it? Which is insane to think about. So obviously we had the 34-second teaser, right? Like, did anyone else initially freak out with the second when it panned up to the N7 stripe? Did you initially think it was Shepard?
No.
100% no.
100% no.
Why?
I didn't care.
Shepard's story's done. People really do
God.
need to let Shepard go.
You guys have very similar view on this. Okay, yeah.
The trilogy was Shepard's story, and the galaxy is so huge that it can't just narrow down to one person coming back every time to save the day.
Agreed.
The franchise would go stale.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Quickly.
And I think part of what makes Shepard so great, I've had a lot of pushback from people actually, and I did actually say in the video, I talked about this a little bit, that I wouldn't be surprised if it is Shepard, because I won't be surprised if they bring it back and if they give in to fan demand and bring it back. I think it would be a huge narrative mistake personally. But I think what makes Shep such a great hero is Shep's humanity. And in order to bring Shep back over and over and over, it turns Shep into like a Marvel superhero and not a human anymore. And I think that diminishes him, her, them.
yeah. 100% agree with you as well. Like, I think they will bring Shepard back in some capacity. I think they will cave to community demand or whatever, right? Because it's clearly wanted. But I hope that it won't be. I don't want Shepard back as a playable character, right? Like I think Shepard's story, Shepard's sacrifices, that journey is done. And
Narrative.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if they brought Shepard back as a playable character, it would cheapen everything that happened before in the trilogy, right? Like, oh, Shepard's back to fight another big bad because only Shepard can do it. You know what I mean, kind of thing. Right. So I think Shepard will come back in some capacity. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how they're going to do that, and obviously we'll talk about it. But I do think that it will be a new main protagonist,
Problem with that though is that if Shepard does come back and it's not the playable character, you get a lot of fans that they say it's my Shepard. Oh, my Shepard wouldn't do this, or my Shepard wouldn't do that. So if you're not actually playing as that Shepard and it's now controlled by some AI, that is going to upset a lot of people, because they're like, well, that's not how my Shepard would have acted, or they wouldn't have said that. So it's getting a fine balance between, yes, you need to get a new protagonist, but then they tried that with Andromeda and it didn't go down well because Ryder wasn't as liked as Shepard. But
well, maybe it's something like you did in Dragon Age, where you have the warden, and there's communications from the warden, and you there is some, like, the warden is floating around there in the background someplace, but you don't ever actually interact with Shepard. That there's an homage to Shepard in some way. But I agree with Tim that it gets pretty tricky if you try to have any kind of character Shepard, because people have so much ownership. That was one of the very first games I noticed when I was playing it, that you don't refer to Shepard as Shepard in the game. You refer to it as me. When you're playing Shepard. So that gets tricky.
Yeah. I agree. Actually, we do all do that. I did this, or I cured the genophage, or whatever. Because you kind of I cured the genophage. I did it, not Rex. I did it. You know? I ran through 3 Reapers. Like, whatever. I agree with that one. I always wanted to do something like what they did with Hawk, you know, in Dragon Age Inquisition. I feel that Hawk was a very kind of set character, though, more than what Shepard is. You know, Shepard is more like, and even the Warden was like that. The Warden was more like, because they could have had so many backstories as the Warden and races and everything else, and same with Shepard, right? So I kind of agree with you. Maybe Shepard might exist in the world, or we might, because obviously in the blog, you know, Gamble talked about the fact that they're going to answer certain key questions for the community: who died, who had children with who, whatever. So they may give some
baby bullet, like
exactly. I've always wanted to know that, clearly. So maybe they'll have some kind of closure in the way that we'll be able to read about what happened or after the war with the Reapers, and I don't know whether that'll be through codex entries or through correspondence or whatever that will look like, or talking to people that knew of someone who fought with Shepard or whatever. Maybe it'll be like told in that way. I do think that the problem that Andromeda had is it didn't have, people hadn't let go of the trilogy. They hadn't had that closure.
They needed someone directly involved with the trilogy to be in Andromeda, so you've got that direct link. I see what they did with, you know, saying, oh well, that's my cousin, or that's my sister, or that's my father, or but it wasn't enough. It was the link between the trilogy and Andromeda. It wasn't strong enough for people to carry on their stories.
Yeah, they killed off the only N7 character at the very beginning of the game.
I know.
And that as well.
Yeah, which is
classic BioWare.
Ryder is not compelling as Shepard. They just the character just wasn't written in any manner that was nearly as compelling. I think the character could have developed into be a pretty compelling character, but I thought they made a lot of narrative mistakes with the Ryder character. The character was very immature. They were very focused on one-liners. It just didn't have the impact. Shepard was always competent from the first minute you meet Shepard. Shepard is competent and accomplished. And Ryder's, you just fit difficult to believe that Ryder gets put in charge of that whole thing at what, 21 or whatever Ryder is.
Yeah.
Do you think if Ryder had 3 games like Shepard had, do you think that your opinion might have changed?
Maybe.
As you've grown with the character?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. And I wondered too, to be perfectly frank, I wondered if my real life age affected my feeling towards Ryder, because I just am very far removed from being a 20-year-old, and I'm not their target audience.
I don't think so, though, because I felt the same way.
Did you?
I felt the same way about Ryder. I felt that they hadn't earned the title Pathfinder. Exactly. I felt that a lot of responsibility was placed on their shoulders. For what reason? like you know, they weren't necessarily the best person in that position. I think Cora would have been better in that position, or you know, other companions.
Just that whole Sam connection, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just because of Sam. Yeah, that's it. It was because of Sam. It was because of Ryder's connection with Sam that made them obviously unique and special. But they hadn't earned that, you know, and so I wonder. Obviously, we saw the N7 figure, you know, obviously in the teaser trailer. Obviously, I personally don't think that is the playable character. I don't think that is the playable character, because they don't give that sense to me. They're very mysterious. They're going to clearly be some kind of character within the universe, whether it's someone we're working with or it's potentially... Because I get Renegade vibes from them, and sort of almost like secret agent and 7 agent kind of antagonist vibes potentially. But I wonder if we will play as an N7 in the next Mass Effect. And I think it would be... Do you think we should play as an N7, or do you think that's something that was... Because N7 is so closely tied now to Shepard, to Shepard's identity. Do you think the community would accept another N7? Do you think that's a good route to go down?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what they want, isn't it? They definitely
Mm.
want to be playing as another N7.
Yeah, yeah, because I think it's so iconic with Mass Effect, and I think obviously being N7, there are how many N7s are there? Seven that we knew of. So it's such a rare kind of rank to achieve. That ranking of itself is a clear of I've earned my place here. I'm a badass kind of thing, which the trench coat most definitely gives that vibe of I am a badass. Like, don't mess with me. So I wonder, like, who do you guys think? What do you guys think of the new figure? What are your thoughts on it initially?
I just kept thinking it was from the multiplayer mode. It looked like one of the N7 Slayers or Vanguard types. It's like, especially with the helmet design and everything like that. And you kept hearing that the Rio map, that was where they all got trained and that. And yeah, it could go like that. They could just be a bit of a cheeky chappy, like
or a cheeky chappy or a cheeky girl, because it's clearly a female character.
Oh yeah, that definitely is. Yeah.
Yes.
A girl can be chappy.
Well, okay.
But they definitely some aiming to misbehave there kind of vibes. So you could be playing a bit of an undercover kind of you might be you might just be kind of playing both sides in that kind of cutscene or something like that. We obviously haven't got enough information at the moment, but it definitely, if it is the playable character, I think a
double agent.
Something like that.
So interesting, because I don't disagree with you, but what I saw when I looked at that image was a person of like, there's something serious, or some kind of serious crap going down, and a sense of mission and a sense of determination. I didn't really pick up a sense of renegade necessarily, but that's a really good point.
I think it was more the body language for me. It was the body language, and the little head, let's go and get the job done kind of thing, and the swish of the trench coat, I think, and I think it was
who wouldn't walk like that?
Who wouldn't walk like that with that kind of trench coat? Exactly. You got to own it. But yeah, so for me, it gave me renegade vibes, but I think it's interestingly.
You think it's human. You think that's a human figure?
Oh, for sure. I think it's human. I don't think Liara would wear that armor. It's not Liara, 100% not. Liara has always, her style's always been very white and blue. It's not her style. She knows how important and significant the N7
and she's hardly going to enlist in the United States.
Exactly. And I think she'd see it as almost a dishonorable thing to do, to wear N7, like, especially we know with how close to Shepard she was, and plus, I don't think the Asari, what they call tendrils or whatever they are, the cartilage. I forgot what they're called. That's terrible. That's really bad.
That's not going to fit in that helmet.
No, I don't think it would fit in that helmet. I think that helmet is too, it's and also N7 is Systems Alliance, right? It's a human military organization. I can't see them accepting Liara into it. You don't know.
Did in a Reaper war in the multiplayer.
Yeah,
they got everyone.
That was in the middle of a war.
Hackett
because Hackett
landed out like with cookies. Here, you're in 7. You're in 7. Yeah, Wallace, you're in 7. Botcher, you're in 7.
Say again.
You're joining the Spectres, Liara?
I think potentially. Yeah, I think potentially she's a Spectre. I think that would make sense. Either that or if it is a time skip, Matriarch. But I think Spectre.
Matriarch vibes in that first teaser, the one that came out 2 years. Is it 2 years ago or last year? The one where you see Liara hiking snow.
Oh, that's 2020. That was 2
years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, I'm very intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued. But I don't think it's Liara. I don't think it's Shepard. And I don't think it's the playable character, because I think in all of the trailers, and I think Tim mentioned this in his breakdown video, that we have seen the face of all the protagonists that we've played as, right? And in Andromeda, they did kind of like the psych of like, you saw the N7 Alec Ryder, obviously, and he's back to you, and he walks towards the camera. You don't see his face, and we never actually played as Alec Ryder, but they tricked us into thinking we were going to play as another N7, and we didn't. We played as Scott or Sarah, and we see the face of Scott or Sarah. And I always think if you're playing a protagonist, the hero, not seeing someone's face is not something you usually associate with a hero, right? Because a lot of the trust comes from the eyes. That's just my view and opinion on things. So I feel like we connect through people's eyes, through people's faces. And I feel not showing the face is almost an indication of, actually, we're probably not going to play as this character. They're going to be someone else, and I'm super intrigued to find out who it is. I'm already, if this is the antagonist, I'm sold.
I really do think it is going to be the antagonist, mainly because Gamble at the time, he tweeted, or just very simply, everything is not as it seems. And if you know, because obviously people are wanting Shepard back, and it's N7. Kai Lang was N7 before he was recruited by Cerberus.
Yep.
And something else that I've been thinking about as well is throughout the trilogy and Andromeda, we've not had a female antagonist. With Seren, we had the Elusive Man, we had the Collector General.
Yeah.
Brooks is crying right now.
In the DLC, in the Citadel DLC. Yeah, when she was pulling the strings from behind.
So what if this is a female N7 that's gone rogue that you as another N7 have to track down? Yeah, similar sort of thing to the original, you know, when you're tracking down Seren, but
like a lot of that word defiance kept popping in my head as well.
Human
it's like,
defiance.
oh, is your character being the defined one and they've sent this N7 after you? Are they like technically the Alliance trying to stop you? Or is it
I like that thought.
Or is it
as in we play as the antagonist? Is that what you're saying?
Or somebody that's been a bit naughty because you're being defiant against the council or whatnot, because it's like, oh no, you shouldn't make your own mass relays, or you shouldn't go do that. You shouldn't there's so many like little bits where it's like, oh, it could be that, or it could be that. I could make up like a zillion stories about like what, like even down to those canisters in the background being, let's say,
I see future Dante fan fictions being created right now.
No, because then when the game comes out, it's like, oh, that was all rubbish.
Problem with the storyline like that, just to play devil's advocate though, is, and this just off the top of my head, is how do you make the if it's an N7 who's gone rogue, there's going to be, I think, a challenge to make the conflict big enough to make the conflict worth it. You know what I mean? Because the Reapers were a pretty damn big conflict for the universe. So the other thing attached to that would be, if it's an N7 going against a rogue N7, you're keeping it very human species centric. And that would be my only comment about that. I mean, I think the premise is really interesting, but I'd like to see it a little more diverse than that.
Yeah, the whole Reaper War thing really set the stakes far too high in the trilogy. It's almost like
what comes after the Reapers?
Yeah,
because when they did Andromeda, it's like, well, that's all they can really do.
The Cat version. Yeah, exactly. And the Jordan are clearly the Protheans, like kind of thing.
It almost feels like they're gonna kind of do, the expanded Star Wars universe kind of thing. It's like, oh, we'll bring in this storyline and narrow it down to just the human conflict here, or something like that, for example. Or for all we know, it could be they could be a really big baddie that's stolen the N7 jacket off an N7 operative after killing them as a trophy. Who knows? It's just like there's so many, because we've only been given like 30 seconds worth of anything. It's like, come on.
I mean,
it's all speculation.
Think about it. It was Shepard against the Elusive Man. That was a human against a human. Obviously, you've got the Reaper War as the overall story, which you might have something else going on.
True.
I don't quite know what you can, like you say, you can do to top galactic annihilation, but
I guess that's where they've got. Well, people are still talking about dark matter, aren't they? As a possible story thread to pull on, because that would be another galactic level threat, wouldn't it? But it may well be a case of, I think we don't know yet as well, because I think, haven't they already said that they're not doing another trilogy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that means that this has to be a self-contained story, right? And that's the problem they had with Andromeda, because they had so many story threads that they were pulling on and investigating into, like the Jadan. Obviously, you know, ended up on Meridian towards the end. We received the distress signal, right, from the Quarian Ark and everything right at the end of the game, and they had all these plans to expand that universe, and then it didn't happen, right? So that therein is the challenge, isn't it? Is of like creating something that is self-contained, but also has the potential self-contained. So you've not got like threads dangling, but like potentially big enough to go into future games. I liked the Mass Effect trilogy because it was a trilogy. It was a continuous storyline, and that's what makes Mass Effect unique to Dragon Age. And it's one of the reasons I like Dragon Age, don't get me wrong, but it's one of the reasons why, for me, I consider Mass Effect superior in terms of storytelling, in terms of narrative, in terms of character development. I consider Mass Effect superior, and because of that trilogy, you know, of threads and everything.
Being able to become the same person. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with that. As much as I love Dragon Age, because that was fantasy was my first kind of love. I wasn't traditionally a sci-fi person until I played Mass Effect the first time. I like the continuity, the way Mass Effect plays itself out better than sort of these related characters that you end up playing in these 3 self-contained games in the Dragon Age world.
So I
The
would
only
like
problem
to
with that though is that you're waiting 5 years to find out the end of the story. So,
yeah,
Sounds about
true.
right.
Yeah, true, but
it'll
also
be longer these days, won't it?
yeah, I mean, but also I think they are building the next Mass Effect on Unreal Engine 5, right? So once you've built all the core systems and the core, you know, everything that you need, development then does tend to be quicker between sequels, right? Because you've already got the core built there on your engine. The problem you had with Andromeda is it was obviously Frostbite engine, and now they're having to go back to Unreal Engine 5, and they may well have many developers that do not have experience in that, right? So they're having to learn as they go, and that can sometimes extend, you know, development time as they're trying to work out all the bugs and all the issues and learn all of these systems and pull in people that are experienced and trained in Unreal Engine, right? You know, 5 and everything. But I do think the next game is going to look absolutely amazing. Unreal Engine 5 is just incredible. So I'm excited to see what it's going to be like, what it's going to look like. So Danny, you had a couple of questions which I wrote down, so we'll go through those maybe next if you want to. So the first, I think, one you asked was, what's your feeling on the Andromeda reference and the connection being drawn between Mass Effect Andromeda and Mass Effect 5 and the possible plot implications for the Mass Effect 5 story? So,
now, when I saw that, I was thinking specifically of the distress call coming out the same date, you know, the distress call from the ARCs and the 2819?
2819, yeah.
The ARCs would have arrived in the Helios cluster and thus started their whatever. That's what I was thinking about as a connection that we saw, and what you think that says about the timeline that they might be thinking of. Everybody wants it to be a direct sequel. You know, it picks up 3 months after the other one or whatever, which I don't personally think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think that's going to happen either. What are your thoughts, Tim?
So if they've just received the distress signal on the date that Andromeda's arrived, that obviously means there's going to be a time jump of 600 years between the end of 3 and when it's picked up then, surely.
That's what it seems like to me, unless there's some kind of voodoo sci-fi, you know, we can change physics somehow with the signal.
Timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a time skip. I think everything that we've seen has implied that there is going to be some kind of time skip. I think the Liara that we've seen in the 2020 trailer is older. I think potentially, if it is 2819, you know, it is when it is set, you know, around then that would make Liara, and I did write this down because I had to do some math, so that would make Liara 742.
And they can live to be, what, 1,000? So that has her approaching major
about 1,000, yeah. So that means the only potentially surviving companions is probably just Liara and Grunt. because
Yeah,
Rex will be gone. Because Rex is already an old man, bless him. By the time of Mass Effect 3, and obviously, human Quarian Turian lifespans are about 150, give or take. Obviously, Shepard might be a little bit more because of cybernetic reprotect and stuff with the Lazarus Project, but still, even with that, there's no way in hell will either be able to live, 600 plus years into the future. So
Unless it's in stasis.
yes, unless there's some kind of cryostasis or something. But why would you put someone in cryostasis unless you knew that it was a potential galactic threat and you were sent a signal back? Now, I've actually been doing a little bit of research because Dante put me in the direction of this, because I was like, how could you send a signal back from the Andromeda Galaxy in the future and have it received in the past? Apparently, I watched some science video on faster than light travel, faster than light technology, and I'll send you the link if you want to watch it. It was really interesting, but it is possible to send a signal from the future and have it received in the past. It creates time paradoxes or something to do with faster than light technology, faster than light travel. I'm not a science person. I'm not going to explain the ins and outs of it. But when I watched it, I was like, so
And maybe
what?
BioWare watched
And
it.
I'm purely speculating here, and we could be completely off the tangent, but this could be a way that BioWare could fix it. They receive a signal from the future. It's received in the past due to magical science. And then, I don't know, maybe they could have cryogenic stasis where some of the original crew, whatever, go into cryogenic stasis, and that's how they could transition. And then the rest of it is set hundreds of years. I'm purely speculating. I have no idea.
Good a theory as any.
What do you guys think?
This is good a theory. I think the timeline skip of 600 odd-ish years, which I believe is going to be I base that on nothing but what we've talked about. I think that's going to be the case, but I also think that's an argument for that. It's not Shepard you're playing. It's not Shepard. If Shepard's in it, as you said, through codex entries, or there's some kind of, in-world. It stands to reason that there'd be a huge in-world tribute to Shepard, because Shepard basically saved the galaxy. So there could be a lot of ancillary involvement of Shepard without Shepard actually being alive. Because I don't think a cyborg Shepard is really Shepard.
Nobody wants cyborg Shepard. Could you imagine if they did like a museum, like in Starfield, where you go to that museum and you find out about like the history, and I'd love that. And
if they had you do something like the and I'm blanking on, the in Dragon Age is called the Tapestry. What's it called in Mass Effect? Where you put your choices in and then you're what's it called?
The
Archives.
The archives or whatever. So where you go through the beginning, if you skip game 1, you can go through and pick your choices for game 2 or whatever. Wouldn't it be cool if they had something like that attached to it, so you could have your museum reflect
you? There you go, BioWare. Genius ideas. Take this now. We'll take a check in the post. Thank you.
I still think everyone's going to have a little mini VI of Shepard.
I'd love that.
Or like, my pocket Shepard.
Just get renegade Shepard shouting abuse at me.
And whenever you shut it down, it'll just be like, I should go.
I love that. That would be brilliant.
Yeah,
that's really good. These ideas are genius. But
wait, if there is time travel, it could be like a Ziggy, like in Quantum Leap. And you'd be like talking to either Jennifer or Mark.
And well, we know the voice actors definitely would love to be back, obviously, in the next Mass Effect. I think they'd like to reprise their characters.
Yeah.
But if not, then I'm sure they'll probably just love to be involved. But yeah, I do think we're going to get a time skip. And I think if there isn't timey-wimey rubbishness that I mentioned, then it does mean that a lot of our like known characters from the trilogy are likely not to be around. But I would still really love it if like we got to meet, like, let's say we met like a descendant of Garrus. Right?
I should imagine they'll put those in.
Like
yeah,
Garrus's great grandson or whatever. And he's maybe the Turian that we saw in the concept art is Garrus's descendant, and he got the armor from his great granddad. Like Rex's family armor or something like that, passed down through generation
purists
to
or something.
generation. Exactly.
They should. I
Something
think
like
they will
that.
do that. They'd be foolish not to. You could have a million little touchstones all through the whole game.
Yeah.
Back to Shepard and your original crew.
Yeah, and people would still feel connected to them because they're
100%.
related in some way to those characters that we really love. And then you get to learn like their family and their backstory and who children they had and everything else. So which would be a good way of tying it, I think, doing that. I think the other one you did ask is about narrowing down the timelines, right? Do you think this new teaser narrowed down the possible timelines in the game? We're saying not really, but we think it's in the future.
I would imagine
Yep.
the easiest way for them to circumnavigate the ending problem that they have, because they've got two major problems. They've got the ending and they've got the Krogan genocide, genophage.
Yep.
And so the easiest way, I think, to circumvent that is have the time jump on Earth to be 600 years, have a very small contained Earth section where you probably get asked the questions, or like Diana says, have the archives to set up your world. And then if you chose synthesis, the people you speak to will have green arms or something. Or if you didn't, then there's no electronic, there's no Geths or robots are walking around or anything like that. And then you very quickly get to Andromeda, where you can have all of that stuff back. And you've got Krogan living there as well that have now overcome the genophage naturally. So that's the problem they've got by staying in the Milky Way, is they've got these player choices that might conflict with the story they actually want to tell.
Do you think they'll canonize? Do you not think they'll canonize one of the endings? Like people seem to think they will. I mean, like a lot of people think they're going to canonize Destroy, and that's it. That's the ending that's going to be canon.
It makes the most sense narratively if they want to stay in the Milky Way. But I don't think they will, because with the ending backlash that they received and having to add stuff on to the ending and make the Citadel DLC, I don't think they'll want to go through that again, and then they won't want to upset people again. So they'll find a way to please everybody.
I think the biggest confusion for a lot of people and why people thought that the Destroy canon ending was the 2020 teaser, because Liara is walking on the body of dead Reapers, and Mike Gamble confirmed that is what it was. So only in Destroy would you have the corpse of dead Reapers. Like you
not necessarily. I mean, Shepard took one out on.
Oh, I guess so. I suppose they may have been. Maybe it's a Reaper from the war. Yeah, you're right. That was taken down. I guess so. That is true. Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if they're going to just. I mean, the problem they have with choosing a canon ending is you're doomed if you do. You're doomed if you don't.
Yep.
Because if they choose the canon ending, it does simplify things for them. It does allow them to remain in the Milky Way galaxy, but then you will alienate much of the community, and you will make those choices and consequences null and void, which was the whole point of Mass Effect, that freedom of choice. And you might not like the choice, but it's a choice that you made, kind of thing, and you had that freedom to do. So they're doomed if they do pick a canon ending. But then if they don't pick a canon ending, and they just kind of do what they did like in Deus Ex Mankind Divided, where they were like, oh, all of them are valid and all of them happened. Because in Human Revolution, you had that was the piss take with Mass Effect, was that literally in Human Revolution, Deus Ex Human Revolution, there was, I think, a green, red and blue option at the end, and they literally were like, oh, you just copied that, kind of thing. And then it caused a big it's like they didn't study. Like, it caused a huge backlash, I think, to Deus Ex Human Revolution. Like, people didn't like that choice at the end. And so in Mankind Divided, they just, and that wasn't even a big time skip in Mankind Divided, but they were like, oh, something happened in the news, but we're not entirely sure what happened, kind of thing. And they just glossed over it. So if they do set it far in the future, obviously, it makes it easier to do that, you know, the shepherd and all, and lost to myth and legend kind of thing. But it also is a bit of a wishy-washy cop-out of a decision, I feel. You know?
Yeah.
Problem too, if you remove it from the Milky Way, which I think is kind of a good idea personally, but if you remove it from the Milky Way, you also remove everything familiar. You're going to have faced the same problem Andromeda did, which is you've now got to construct a world people will love as much as they love that other world, of which you can't go to Ilium now. You can't. I mean, all those familiar things are gone, and that's a lot to give up, because there's some. I mean, the nostalgia factor is massive.
Yeah, agreed. And a lot of the concept art that we've seen.
Writer, let's put it this way, they're in a tough spot.
No, they've written themselves into an impossible corner. But the concept art we've seen looks very Ilium, very Asari, you know, in its, you know, the red with the red. It looks very familiar and trilogy. So like it's set in the Milky Way galaxy, you know what I mean? Then the new thing, obviously, with the poster and them showing the races and having Angara as well as Geth in the same room, that has me completely confused.
Well, that would imply to me that somehow the massive relays obviously have been rebuilt, and maybe they're bigger and beefier, and they've discovered new physics equations and whatever, because now the Angara are in the Milky Way, or
vice versa.
All these other Milky Way species are in. Yeah, it's crazy. There's happening with teleportation.
They're going
wormholes.
to duct tape Omega to the Citadel and just shoot it through the Cerberus mass.
Cannot see Arya liking that idea. Can you see Arya giving the green light to that? I don't think so.
She'll be the pilot.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ.
On a sofa.
Oh my good God.
If they're confident in their story and their narrative is really good, they can choose an ending and say, okay, you know, that's the ending. If you're carrying forward, obviously you can make up your own ending to 3, and if you're happy with that, that's fine. But the story that we're telling, this happened.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever played the Legacy of Kain games, you had a choice at the end of that one, at the very first one, and you're good or evil. When they made Soul Reaver, they said the bad choice is the correct one, and they rolled with it, and their story built on that bad ending that you could have picked was really good.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, and I want a remake of that desperately. It's so good.
So yeah, if they're confident in their storytelling, they'll just have to face up to the haters and go, look, this, because it works.
Yeah, don't try and please everyone. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think that's what they're going to do personally. I think they're going to pick an ending and go with it, even though it's going to piss a lot of people off. It's going to piss a lot of people off that you can't play a shepherd either. I mean, there's no choice.
There's going to be
piss a whole contingent of people.
Exactly.
Off.
There's going to be people pissed off no matter what you do.
Foundation to start from if you don't pick a starting point. I just think it'd be, can you imagine the problem of trying to all the threads together if you try to incorporate something that'll make everybody happy for all those endings?
Impossible. I mean, absolutely impossible job, I think. I agree with you. I think they would have to choose a canon ending and just take that hit. But if the story is good, like you say, you know, and the characters and the way in which they, you know, and if they do choose a canon ending, then like you say, they can probably start in Milky Way and maybe they will go to in the Andromeda Galaxy, you know, chasing after that distress signal or whatever that may well be. It may be something to do with the Scourge, you know, potentially, because obviously that, you know, and dark matter. I think the Scourge is very much tied into dark matter. So that maybe it's spreading, maybe it's a warning or something. I don't know, some kind of threat.
I think the Scourge could be a good premise. I just hope they come up with something bigger and better than the cat.
Yeah,
baddies, because that guy to me came off as like you're the schoolyard bully.
Especially the bit where he's like floating in the air.
Yes.
Right. Kneel before Zod.
And if you can't absorb that temple power, he just looks petulant.
Yeah. And even the last boss fight was such a letdown. Like, I was like, really? This is it? Really? Like, come on, dude. I will
say I liked Andromeda enough though that I was really looking forward to seeing what happened to the other arcs. I mean, I was super disappointed when they canceled.
I was very much looking forward to
the DLC. Deserved as much hate as it got. It wasn't as good, but it didn't deserve what it got, I didn't think.
I agree.
I do wonder how much of like the DLC or even potentially the beginnings of the sequel they started getting down before they went, oh, actually, no, the backlash is too strong, forget it. Like, would they use bits of that in this Mass Effect 5?
Potentially, that could maybe be what they're doing. I mean, obviously, the distress signal that they received at the end of Andromeda is from the Quarian arc. So you don't know if this distress signal is related to that in some way. I think there's a pathogen or something on the Quarian arc or something that I vaguely remember or something like that. But like, it could be a way for them to tell untold stories or stories that they wanted to tell, but they're trying to link it to the Milky Way galaxy as well, and they're clearly trying to join them, aren't they? I mean, everything we've seen in the teasers, in everything from the two galaxies, you know, and I think there's even been some concept art of galaxies like converging and stuff like that like Mark Gamble's liked and stuff like that. So they are clearly wanting to merge the trilogy and Andromeda into one kind of cohesive, you know, thing, rather than them being separate, which is how they are considered now. You know, they're obviously, you know, hundreds of years in the future, so they're separated by both space and time, which is a big challenge, obviously. How they're going to do that, I've absolutely no idea. But that's obviously clearly what they're wanting to do.
Good call, though, right? I think it's an excellent call that they're firmly associating and tying Andromeda to
I agree.
Mass Effect trilogy. I don't think they should pretend that that's the redheaded stepchild, because it wasn't super well received. We're going to pretend like it never happened. It should be part. It should be part of the entire story.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there were interesting things in Andromeda. You know, there were like the whole Sam consciousness joined with Ryder. I found fascinating. That's very interesting. That's where things were going, you know what I mean? Obviously with exploring AI and exploring you know, the Quarians and the Geth and everything else, like clearly that's the next step, isn't it? You know, that's synthesis effectively. So that may be a way, you know, they may want to explore that possibly. I wanted to learn more about the Jardan. Where did they go? Why did they flee? What were they fleeing from? You know, and the weapon obviously that was the Scourge. This is something that can be weaponized. So the remnant tech I found fascinating for terraforming, you know, terraforming planets and exploration and colonization, and there's just so many fascinating things in Andromeda. I don't want them to drop it. I do not want them to drop it at all, because I thought there was a lot of potential in Andromeda. I just felt that it wasn't given a fair shot, unfortunately. And it was unfortunate, obviously. I think you know, my face is tired, the bugs and the facial glitches and things, it was unfortunate that they were so hilarious. And obviously the internet decided to pick it up and meme it like the internet tends to do. But I do think it was blown out of proportion compared to you see games.
I played it literally on release. I played it straight through, and I had some glitches and whatever stuff that made you laugh, but I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't as compelling, but it was good.
Yeah.
Tim, I do have to ask, did you end up liking the combat? Because I know I mean, this is years ago now, but when it first came out, you weren't thrilled with the jump jets. You didn't love the combat. Did you end up liking the combat? Because I loved the combat in Andromeda.
I kind of like the verticality. It did kind of grow on me.
It takes getting used to it, but
still really don't like the profile switching, and I refuse to do it in game. So I don't like the fact that it breaks lore and continuity, and it's like, no, if you're a biotic, you're a biotic. If you're a soldier, you're a soldier. So
yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm the same on that one too. I like the class specialisms a lot better. Plus it adds more replayability to the game, because you can play back through as different classes and obviously make different choices.
What's your favorite class? What's your go-to class in the trilogy?
Infiltrator.
That's why you're excited about playing as an agent. You just want to be sneaking in everywhere and cloak everywhere and snipe everyone.
And steal everything.
I have a bit of a headcanon lore kind of playthrough, usually when I do it. I always start off my shepherd as, see, I'm doing it now, but my shepherd as a soldier for Mass Effect 1. And then when he or she gets rebuilt, that's when they pick up the biotic implants. So then I have a bit more freedom to choose between like Vanguard or Infiltrator or because to me that they've got all these tech implants and they can do a lot more things than just being your average soldier,
Mhm.
which in the original Mass Effect trilogy really used to annoy me because any other class couldn't use a sniper rifle. So I would go from being a soldier that could use a sniper rifle to a soldier that completely forgot how to use one. Yeah, thankfully they changed that for the Legendary Edition.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
What about you,
This thing.
I'm kind of the same as Tim. I start off in Mass Effect 1 as a soldier because I'm N7. I'm trained in every weapon. I'm a soldier through and through. But then in Mass Effect 2, when I, obviously with the Lazarus Project, I then go as a Sentinel. So I have both biotic and tech abilities because that's the ultimate, killing machine. Can do everything, can deal with every situation. Plus, in Mass Effect 3, I just love the combos. I'm a primer and a detonator. I'm just like cryo, incinerate, biotic boom, left, right, and center. That's generally where my happy space is. I have the most fun when I'm doing that. So yeah, I play as soldier in Mass Effect 1 and then Sentinel in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3.
I like the Sentinel. I have to say the one class I've never played at, but I've heard is fun as the Engineer.
Yeah.
Jones.
But I feel like if I play as the Engineer, I steal Tally's thunder. If I play as the Engineer, because I always have her in my crew, and I'm like, Tally's got her drones, like, But yes, yeah, I do hear Sentinel is good though, very much so.
I've never played as an Engineer either, but it's because I kind of look at the armor and think, well, you can't really have decent armor. It all looks like just light, skin tight stuff. I'm like, you need to be.
It's funny. I was playing through Andromeda, and even though I'm not going profiles, I'm pretty much playing as a Vanguard, which works perfectly with the jetpack, because I'll throw out like Incinerate and just set them on fire, and then I'll jump up into the air and like charge towards them, and then just cause a massive explosion when I hit them. It's really fun. I highly recommend it. Playing as the Vanguard, just everything. So yes,
I really.
And I haven't played it since. I played it through twice when it came out, and I haven't played it since. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm playing as a male rider at the moment. I usually play female character, like in most RPGs, to be fair, but especially in Mass Effect. And I played Andromeda as Sarah Ryder to start off with, but I'm playing as Scott at the moment, and I am kind of enjoying it because it is a bit of a different. I'm playing him differently to Sarah. Like Sarah, I played as a bit of a wisecracking kind of, even though that really isn't what she's supposed to be. It's more Scott's supposed to be the wisecracking, and Sarah's supposed to be the serious one, right? The scientist. I played it totally the opposite. Now I regret it. But yeah. The gameplay in the combat is really good. So to finish off then, let's talk about obviously the next Mass Effect. And what would you guys like to see? Like, if you had a wish list, like, what would you like to see in the next Mass Effect, and what would you like BioWare to avoid in the next Mass Effect? Any ideas on that? Do you want me to start with a few things, and then you can chip in? Yeah, okay. I have a list. I'll just do a couple of them. So
Preparation.
Yeah, I have to write some things down just so I know what I'm going to say. So I don't. Well, we've already said I don't want Shepard to be the main playable character. Right, that's 100%. I'd like to see the jetpack return, because I absolutely loved it in Andromeda and that verticality. I think that would be great. I wanna see the Renegade and Paragon system return in the next Mass Effect. I really enjoyed it in the trilogy, but I want it to be better. Like, it is still very simplistic in the trilogy, you get punished unless you go full Renegade or full Paragon, like, because it limits the options that you have. So I'd like it back in there, right? Because I do like the interrupts, and I prefer not to know what's going to happen, because I find that more fun. So I didn't like an Andromeda where it's like, press this button to pull your gun. I'm like, well, that's no fun. You already know what you're going to do. I liked the suspense of not knowing what was going to happen. But I want more sophisticated choices. Like, so you don't get punished if you went for a neutral choice or something like that, and maybe a little bit more on backgrounds that influence like dialogue choices and more of that, like what we've had in like Baldur's Gate 3, right? Or even in Starfield, where it gives you more options in dialogue based on background or choices or whatever, right? A bit more sophistication, I think, to take us into kind of modern RPGs, expand on that kind of thing. I want a return, like exactly what Tim just said. I want a return to class specialisms. Throw out the profile system. I don't want it.
That was a Sam only thing.
It's a Sam only thing. We don't want it. I want the class specialisms, and I do want some closure with the main trilogy. I want to know what happened after the Reaper War. I don't need to speak to these characters face to face, right? But I want to know what happened. I'd like to hear about what happened, so I have some degree of closure moving into, and then people can let go of the trilogy. I think the problem is the ending was so controversial when it first happened and was so sudden. We didn't get enough, like in Dragon Age, like Inquisition, right at the end of it, where you have that whole section where you can go and talk to your party and you can have that time with them. They tried to do that with the Citadel DLC, obviously, because that came after the initial release, but I still feel that people didn't have that closure. I wanted to be on the beach with Garrus, sipping mojitos, whatever. Why couldn't you have a good ending, if you'd done everything right? You know what I mean? Like people wanted that closure, and maybe they didn't get it. And I think that's maybe why they didn't open their hearts or arms to Andromeda. So I think we need closure. That was a long list. I apologize. Okay, what are your thoughts on that? Anything
I really
extra?
can't add much to that. I think all of that sounds good. I agree about the closure. I agree. Oh God, my mind just went blank. That's a 60-year-old thing. I would like to see the narrative arc closed for Mass Effect for the trilogy for sure. I don't have a specific list. I'm really trying to keep my mind open. I just hope it has a really strong narrative arc.
Yeah.
I don't care if it honestly, I would like to come out while I'm still alive, but I don't care if it takes another 10 years. I really just hope it has a very strong narrative arc. I hope that it's not a direct, I hope it's 600 years in the future. I hope at some point in the future, I hope they have a new cast that's as well written as the old cast. And I do hope that we get to see within the game some sort of, as you say, some sort of hint about what happened with the other characters. I always call it this is what I call it. I always call it the romance novel ending. I think there are certain games that lend themselves to bittersweet or undetermined ending, but I don't think Mass Effect is one of those trilogies. I think you're so invested in Shepard, you want Shepard to have a happy ending or heroic ending or some definitive ending, like in a romance novel. You want them to go off into the sunset and get the rewards that they deserved. And so I agree with Kate. That's probably my primary thing I would like to see. That I don't care if it's unrealistic either. I still want to see it.
Same. Tim?
Me? Exactly what you said there. Building on it, I would like to see decent side missions. Stories that
none of those fetch quest stuff where we have to go from planet to planet. Those nearly
just go and
killed
get
me
a
in
banner
Andromeda.
or something. Or
Honestly,
I want to see like Witcher 3 style, where it can be completely separate, but then it can incidentally tie into the main quest. So it doesn't matter if you do it or if you don't, but if you do, you get extra content for it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a return of the Mako so that you can go exploring. I really like driving the Nomad, but there's no gun. I need a big gun to shoot things with.
Yeah.
The chance to go off and explore and find interesting things in the world. So again, I liked Mass Effect 2 and 3 where it is all hub worlds and you go in there and it's all very narrative driven, but I missed just landing on a planet and go and say, "Ooh, right, let's go over that mountain there and see what you can find." And
so maybe less strictly linear.
Yeah. I mean, it making your choices actually matter at the end. You can have. You don't need like 16 different endings that are all slight variations of each other. You can have 3 or 4 very wildly different endings based on your actual choices in game. And like you said, the return of the Paragon and Renegade system, but better. And so that you're not limited just to always picking the Renegade thing if you want to be a Renegade, or you're always picking the Paragon. Make it so that your point system is divided up, and whichever one you're choosing, it can feed into into that the choices and that, and also probably a return to the more of the RPG elements from the first Mass Effect game, so that you can actually build your character up how you'd like it, because they completely stripped that out in 2. And they did kind of put it slightly back in 3, but again, it wasn't quite as robust as Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
I want to be able to put all my points into being, intimidation, and then I've got more, dialogue options for intimidation as I level up my character and that. So, or a barter skill, and then when I land on planets, I can say, rather than just saying, oh yeah, I'll give you an endorsement if you like, and every shop is my favorite shop.
I was so surprised that there was no consequence to that. It was like you did to every single shop and there was no consequence at all. Like some kind of secret side mission where all the
shopkeepers union,
shop people's are talking. This shepherd that keeps coming in. Yeah, very good. Dante, anything extra you want to add? Or
all my answers were mostly stolen there because
sorry.
I was definitely going for.
I should have gone before Kate.
Yeah.
There's a reason I went first. Yeah.
But there was definitely because the character and the narrative just has to be
good.
like spot on, because the BioWare writers have got to be like and for sacking certain ones of them as well. It's like, oh,
can you
what
imagine
they
the
get
pressure they're under? Oh my god.
Right, yeah, and that's what I kind of hate about some of the community being that nasty and negative towards the writers when they're just trying their best or whatnot.
I agree.
But on top of that as well, I was going to mention the god awful side quests and shopping lists. Go find me 5 space rocks. And no, I don't
Mass Effect 3, it's like, you want me to go and find your family crest? We're in the middle of a Reaper war. Seriously.
I'm sure it will help. No.
In Andromeda it was worse. Yeah.
And then I was going to mention The Witcher 3, going like, oh, what good side quest content like that.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to think up other random things on the spot. I just thought, like, what if we had like where we played a bit of the game in Andromeda and then skipped to Milky Way and played a bit there as a different character before the merging happens, and lol, now there's a space rift time thingy, whatever MacGuffin. We can join each other now. So yeah, you could be like doing the Andromeda stuff that got left over and then bring that in, because I kind of want to see more of that before we merge the two in whatever method's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just to at least make a suggestion of some tie-up of the loose ends that they left open with Andromeda, because then no other sequel ever came out.
Yeah, because like I don't know whether we'd be, we'd play a bit as one of the riders, trying to sort out the Quarian arc thing, for example, and then Liara's elsewhere with the Milky Way stuff before the crossover and junk like that. Combat wise, definitely like the modding of the weapons and stuff from like 3 and Andromeda.
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, but also make them more balanced, so you're not always making the most overpowered thing.
Some of the guns you could make in Andromeda were absolutely insane. Some of
them. My homing shotgun piranha.
Yeah, I don't know why they seem to have the need now to have to put crafting into every RPG. Like we have to have crafting in. Like they did it in Dragon Age Inquisition. Which was cool. It made me go and hunt all the dragons down because I wanted their dragon scales and stuff to get some really powerful gear. So I suppose it was cool in a way, but I don't know if I want that in the next Mass Effect or not.
Weird if you're playing the Andromeda bit and only they're using jetpacks properly, and the Milky Way guys are like, "Oh, what's a jetpack?" we turn around in 90 degrees.
All these N7s, are suddenly demoted to N2s. Something like that. So be funny.
Because I love it, even with the multiplayer that Andromeda had, even though for some reason didn't play it as much as ME3's multiplayer, it was just so much easier and smoother, and like I'm looking forward to what they do in the new engine and all that.
You need a good villain as well. That's what I think Andromeda didn't have. You need a good villain.
Oh, definitely.
A really good villain, someone that you can really like, either like feel torn about, which is I felt like with Saren. I felt bad for Saren because he was clearly like, indoctrinated and clearly thought, but he was a great villain, right? And even Benezia as well. And then obviously I even thought they dropped the ball technically with that in Mass Effect 3, because obviously in Mass Effect 2 you had Sovereign, and then Harbinger in Mass Effect 2, right? It was constantly taunting you the whole way through Mass Effect 2, and then just vanished in Mass Effect 3. Like, I do think you need to, not like a big overarching entity like the Scourge or Dark Matter. You need someone that you can focus on, right? As a really good, like, antagonist, as a really good counterpart to your hero, right? Or your main character. So I think that's something they desperately need in Mass Effect, in the next Mass Effect, a good villain. But the fact that Mary DeMal, is it, that's leading the writing team, she's great. She worked on Deus Ex Human Revolution. She was one of the lead writers on that. And also she worked on Guardians of the Galaxy, which was fantastic. Yeah. The writing in that was so good. The character, relationships, the band, everything was just, the humor, everything was just so good. So I'm excited, the fact that she's involved.
No time limit as well. Sorry.
No time limit?
Yeah, so in like Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 3, you're on a time limit. You've got to go and find Saren. You've got to stop him before.
Oh, yeah.
And then obviously Mass Effect 3, you've got to stop the Reapers before they wipe out Earth.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels off that you go, oh yeah, I'll just go and visit this planet and I'll I'll go and do all this. Yeah.
Shopping for you.
Yeah. But a lot of RPGs have that problem now.
That's a good point.
Like,
I mean, Mass Effect 2 was great because you were building your team, and then you're going to have to at some point, and obviously the longer you take, the more worlds could possibly get taken by the collectors. But that's on you. It's not a case of if you don't do it, then it's game over. The world's ending, or you've got no chance. It's just the longer you take, then the more worlds would fall. So you can go and do what you think you need to do to make sure you've got the strongest team before you go through, rather than we need to stop them now and look, a little flower over there. I need one of those for my my armor pack.
I don't need to save Grissom Academy. They'll be fine. I'll just go.
But if you delay, Jack dies. Like, there are
Normandy
consequences.
crew, they've been kidnapped. It's fine.
Same with like the suicide mission. Like, if you delay and do too many side missions afterwards, like the Normandy crew die. Like, they will die. So like, there are consequences. I've researched because I went straight there, but there are consequences. So
I love consequences like that in games. I love it when there's big, like in Baldur's Gate, if you say the wrong thing, to
unintentionally,
it ends your game, and
I'm like,
oh my god, game's over.
Oops, maybe you shouldn't like bitch. Maybe you shouldn't talk back to a goddess. Maybe that's a bad idea. Like, she's gonna slap you down.
It was a shock. Yeah, game over. I'm only in Act 1. What are you talking about?
It was brilliant, though. It was so good.
It was funny. It was hilarious. I will say one thing more about Tim's point about, excuse me, about villains. I'm not a Marvel or Guardians of the Galaxy fan. I haven't seen any of those, so I'm speaking through my hat here a little bit. But when I think of villains in cartoon series, I tend to think of villains being very one-dimensional, like these, the Joker with Batman or whatever, kind of a big evil that really there's nothing redeeming about them. Whereas, for instance, a game like Dreadwolf, now this is a different topic. I don't think Solus is going to be the big bad in Dreadwolf, but what makes him interesting about a potential villain is that he's a conflicted man with a lot of redeeming qualities and a lot of reasons to like him. And he has reasons that are valid and moral to him to take the actions he's taking. So I kind of hope that they have a villain in this game that isn't just, like Harbinger. There's no humanity in Harbinger. Obviously, there's no humanity. But I mean, I like a villain that has conflicts and that you can find reasons to say, well, there are, he's got a cute dog that he loves, and terrible people can't love cute dogs or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? I like a villain that has some conflict, and there are actually reasons why you might actually kind of like this villain, even though you have to destroy them. I just hope it's not a one-dimensional villain.
I agree with you.
That makes the best kind of villains is they're doing the right thing, but the wrong way about it.
Yeah.
They're trying to save their loved one, but it means they're going to be wiping out 10,000 others.
Right.
To me, they're the kind of the villains that you can empathize with, and you're like, well, right, maybe you shouldn't be doing that, but I can see why you're doing that.
Absolutely. Then that makes every conversational decision you have to make. You're like,
that much harder.
It's so consequential.
Yeah, that much, and you feel that much more conflicted about taking them down. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
That's
that
the
kind of
game
thing
you'll be
too.
talking
And
about later.
That's
Yeah,
why
exactly.
Liara would be such a great villain.
I can't.
You
I
would,
can't.
but I hate.
I hate it. I would hate every moment. Liara is one of my
See?
favorite characters in the trilogy, and I literally do not legitimately think I could bring myself to
If she was
shoot
going to
her or
wipe out,
attack her.
if
I
she was going to
know.
wipe out Ilium to save Shepard,
Oh my
what would you
God.
do? Would you stop her or would you help her?
Well, you'd have to stop her if she's going to wipe out
Slay it.
Ilium, of
But
course.
to save
But
Shepard.
I don't know. Yes, I guess I would, because it's what
I
Shepard would
just said
want.
I love villains like that, but oh boy, I
I
wouldn't want to
know,
be faced
I know.
with
It'd be
them.
so heartbreaking. I don't want Liara to be the villain in the next Mass Effect. I know a lot of people are, including you, Tim. I've talked about it as well.
They won't do it.
But
I'd love it
I
to
would,
be, but
I would
they
hate
won't.
that.
Yeah,
And they love Liara
Thanks for
too
an
much to
excellent
do
point, though.
that.
That would make it super compelling. Oh my gosh.
It would actually. What if Liara is the villain and the N7 that we have actually seen is chasing her down?
Yeah.
We have no idea.
Who do you stop? The N7?
I bet you
or
Ali Hillis would
Liara?
love that. Because I don't. Has she played villains, Ali Hillis? Can you imagine? Liara would be intimidating as hell as a villain because she's quite powerful. She's a powerful biotic. So she would make a good villain. Oh, Christ, I've talked myself round to it. What the heck? She would make a good villain, but I don't want it. But yeah, we'll see. So, okay.
Can you
I
imagine
think...
Tally? Can you imagine Tally as a villain?
Oh,
Who would you
God.
sleep with? Oh my god.
Yeah, there'd be like a like a protest or something. People signing petition. Make no stop. Okay, so I think any last words before we kind of wrap up conversation? Anything else you want to say, or are we good?
They were good.
Okay, it's cool. So yeah, that was a really good conversation. I really enjoyed that. So lots of things obviously to talk about with the teaser and obviously for the next Mass Effect. Thank you so much guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Do let us know your thoughts on the teaser, on the next Mass Effect, what you would like to see in the next Mass Effect, what your predictions are for the next Mass Effect and what was revealed. Please do share those in the comments section below. Before we obviously finish, you guys want to like tell people where they can find you, like on YouTube or social media, if you guys want to do that? Promote yourselves.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh, I'm on YouTube at MotherMantiss. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, Ploppy54 Gaming. I'm sure there'll be a link in the description.
Yeah,
won't there?
I will put a link to both your channels in my description below, guys. So please do go check out their channels. They've got some awesome content on there. Go show them some love and yeah, over on there, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank you, Kate.
I cannot thank you enough, honestly, for taking the time to join me. And I hope we can do this again in the future. I really enjoyed it, so thank you so much. Dante's so excited, bless him. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Of course, have a great week, everybody. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. We should go.
Johnny!
Message coming in. Patching it through.
So let's kick off, obviously, with our first community question. This one is from Alex Terrier. I think I say that right now. Alex compliments me every time I say their name. So Alex asks, this is for all of us, if you had to choose between video games or movies and TV series, what would you pick? If you pick video games, no more TV shows or movies. If you pick TV shows and movies, no more video games. What would you pick and why? Who would like to go first? No answers. Awesome.
Yeah, wow.
It's a difficult one because people go through waves. It's like at the moment there's nothing really in the video game. I know, having just gloated so much about Wonder and how much I enjoyed it. But I go through phases where I really enjoy, what TV shows are coming out at a specific point. And then I go through phases where there's nothing of interest whatsoever. And that can even last for a couple of years. I remember pretty much between like the 2010s to, the 2020s, there wasn't much on TV that really appealed to me.
Yeah.
And vice versa. But if you're going to put a gun to my head and say, hey, you absolutely have to pick one for the rest of time, I would say probably video games on the pure basis of you can still tell a story through a video game, and it's a bit more involved. It's participation wise. And I feel just sitting down and vegging out in front of a TV, though amazing, from time to time, absolutely. I think I get from my fix stories. I enjoy watching a show because of a story. You can tell a story through a game. I can read a book. So
I didn't say you can't read a book.
We still got books. We still got books. I still have books. Damn it.
Exactly. We'll read the Silo instead of watching it.
Yeah. Well, Silo being the prime point. Silo was an absolute wonderful TV show. And I read the book years ago, and it was the best book series I've read. Possibly. I actually think it might be the best book series I've ever read.
That's on my Christmas wish list as well.
And the book series, for those who are wanting to know, is actually called Wool. Well, the first book is called Wool. They changed it for the TV show because it probably makes a bit more sense to just call it Silo. But if you haven't read it, I recommend that. But yeah, I'd say put a gun to my head, games.
Yeah. Pretty much the same. You've got that. It's more interactive. It's if you're stuck with one for life kind of thing. I feel games have more replay value rather than TVs being like rewatch, because it's like it's exactly the same every time you watch. Whereas when you play a game, you can mix it up yourself, give yourself challenges, or find things that you missed first time round, or go completely different ways and all that. Like I'd definitely prefer playing say like The Last of Us than watching it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, because you also feel more invested in the story and those characters. Because you're the one going through that experience, right? It's like when we talked about this, in the Mass Effect discussion, we were saying like, when you don't say, "Oh, Commander Shepard did it," you're like, "I did this, I did that," I romanced that character. So there is that level of connection that maybe you don't have when you're just watching something. You might care about the characters that you're watching, right? And be absolutely furious with the way they butcher their character Khaleesi at the end of Game of Thrones. Like Daenerys, like obviously you're passionately invested in them, clearly. But yeah, video games are on a whole other level. I think there's also the social aspect of video games as well. You can watch a TV show with friends and with family and react to things and see people's reactions. Of course you can, but video games are special as well in that it's the social aspect of video games and being able to play cooperatively, whether it's couch co-op or online, and play and experience that like together. Like I really enjoyed playing like Borderlands like with you and like with Edge, and then other games that we've played together multiplayer as well. Even enjoyed playing Resident Evil 6 with Edge. I don't know how, but I did. So yeah, like for sure, like it's just a lot more enjoyment to get out of it, and that kind of thing. And your replay value point is a very good one. Yeah, I couldn't give up video games. I could give up TV and movies. I could.
There's so many different genres as well. You've got like a bit of like the quick pick up and plays, and then the longer plays and all this and that.
I also think that with this being a video game channel, that's a bit of a loaded question.
We're a bit biased.
We're a bit biased.
Yeah, as is probably most of the community watching this. But I would be curious to hear what you guys would pick and why. Whether you would pick video games or TV series and movies.
N7K is now a cinema channel. Let's go! No.
I wouldn't make anything, and everything would be copyright claimed and blocked immediately. That's why it's really hard to do film and TV critique and reviews.
Especially if you think it's trying to avoid spoilers.
Yeah,
all that rubbish as well. Right.
Do you know how stressed I get even writing video game reviews and wanting to avoid giving spoilers away and review something critically? I can't even imagine like doing TV or videos. And obviously it's subjective TV videos in terms of people's tastes and things like that. That's a very good question, Alex. Thank you very much for your question. Appreciated. So we're going to cue into the second main feature that we've got in today's podcast, which is actually related to the Bungie layoffs that happened at the end of October. We in this main feature, I was joined by, again, Diana, MotherMantiss, and two of my friends, Totes and Glim. They're basically my Destiny crew. I play Destiny with them pretty regularly. And so we talked about the Bungie layoffs. We talked about the state of Bungie and the future and the state of Destiny, and also the future of Destiny, and also Marathon. It was quite an extensive conversation. So I hope you guys enjoy it, because I definitely enjoyed being part of it. Enjoy, guys.
Spit it out, or are you trying to build suspense?
Right, hello everybody. So welcome today. I'm joined today by my Destiny fire team, I guess you could say, which is made up of Diana, obviously from otherwise known as MotherMantiss, also Glim, and also Totes. And today we wanted to talk about, obviously, the recent news, end of October, beginning of November, which is the Bungie layoffs, the state of Bungie at the moment, and obviously the future of Destiny, right, going into final shape, and the future for Bungie, and our thoughts on what happened and, you know, the future and what that holds. So what I thought we'd kick off today, if that's okay with you guys, is I'll just cover the basic news of what happened, just for everybody back at home watching, and then we'll just get a discussion going, and obviously talk about our thoughts on it. So basically, end of October, we received the really devastating, sad news that Bungie had laid off 8% of their workforce, about 100 employees, which were from multiple departments, including community management, marketing, QA, support, HR, production, art and publishing, including some very well-known people within that. I think the biggest shock for me was Michael Salvatore, that was laid off from Bungie. I was shocked that he was laid off, because he's been with Bungie since like the very beginning, right? And obviously he's a well-known composer, wrote music for Halo, and obviously Destiny. I was shocked. Like, what was your guys' reactions when you heard that Michael Salvatore was let go? Like, and just the layoffs.
I found it shocking. He's been there for so long, and not only with Destiny, but previous games, I believe. Mm-hmm. And letting him go, it just kind of says like, okay, like, is final shape the last thing? Because why
exactly
is he gone? Like, you know,
because it's been confirmed the music for final shape is finished already. So yeah, if you let your main guy go, what does that say about what's coming after your next expansion?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It actually wasn't just Michael Salvatore. They let go of Michael Seacrest. He was also he wrote Salvatore and Sky Lewin wrote this Deep Stone Lullaby, which is like a particular fan favorite from the Deep Stone Crypt trade.
Okay.
Like
I've heard of that. People really love that. Bit, didn't they?
Oh yeah, it's really good music.
I can't imagine what it does for staff morale as well. If you think if Michael Salvatore is gone, like if they've let him go, nobody is safe. You know what I mean? Like if I was working at Bungie.
It's absolutely shocking. It's shocking, especially for a company like Bungie, like how they come across and how they want it to be marketed and come across is that they care for their employees, that everybody is a huge part in what they're doing, in the art they're creating, in the game they're making. And I think it's like just family. A shocker because the way how it also happened, it was an emergency meeting. These people didn't know. They come to this meeting, they get handed this, this pink sheet of like, you're going to be unemployed now, you know, and then they had to leave the premises. Think about that. There was this, what was her name again? Liana Rupert. She's was a long-time brand manager. She had worked for Bungie for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, these people have lives, they have families, they make a living there, and you come to work, and it's a meeting, and it's like, well, you're all being let go. Please pack up, leave. What does that show?
I think the biggest thing that shocked me as well is like when more like news came out after the fact as well. Like they had a meeting 2 weeks before the layoffs happened, where the management basically in this meeting kind of dropped the big bomb that obviously Bungie, were 45%. Revenue wise was 45% below projections, that obviously they were struggling, but that they were gonna sort of band together. They might have to like freeze wages or hiring or recruitment or anything, but that they were going to band together, and like they really kind of jeered up the team to be like, okay, we can get through this, we can work on this, and we can pull it back. And then like 2 weeks later, like people, I think they got like 15-minute meetings like booked into their like diary, and then they were like, that's it, off you go, you've been let go. So just the way in which it was managed and handled was just so cold and calculating and kind of inhumane, almost, like in the way in which they treated their staff.
Some people got fired by email, and like just
shocking
to find out, like you open your email inbox and be like,
on the way to work, you're on the way to looking through your emails.
Yeah, it's like someone breaking up with you over text message.
Oh
like,
my God.
It's like shocking. It's like, you can't even tell this to me face to face. Like it's just a very cowardly way of kind of, doing it. Was there anything about like the layoffs that really surprised you? Like I was surprised in the fact that, well, 45% revenue drop. Like below their projections. Like I'm not surprised based on how we know how Destiny's going. But yes, I mean, what do you obviously?
Like, I mean, who estimated that and estimated it like that?
I think they should
hit it by 45%.
Yeah.
Like, do they have like someone with a crystal ball there, and they looked into it? And they're like, hey, this is the number we're going to make. Like, how can you miss it?
Yeah. So their projections, you think, are just completely unachievable.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that what they did with the letting go of people, it's as if they're blaming the creative heads, the people that actually like blood, sweat, and tears. They put that into it. It feels for me like that. They're being blamed when this is high management. I mean, we're going to get to it, Kate. I guess you're going to lead us there. What has been going on before and what was wrong, and I think we're all in agreement that it wasn't what these people were putting into the game, what was wrong. It's much higher, the problem, much higher.
And I definitely think that's something that's come out of the back of this is kind of like it seems to have divided, like it's almost split the company, right, between like the dev team, the people, the developers actually working on it, and management, right? And it seems like there is this us them mentality, and now you have the fan base, right, the community as well, that also feel that way. And my heart breaks for the dev team that have worked on it, and some of the feedback we've gotten from a lot of the developers is that they have tried to go back to management with suggestions for improvements that's come from the community, right, things that they need to do to solve issues with Destiny 2, of which there are many, but and then the management just shoot them down, just don't listen to them, right? And obviously this drive and this focus on monetization, and this huge focus on monetization that seems to become even worse than what it was. This has clearly come from management as well, right? And it's that whole constantly chasing that constant growth. But the biggest shock for me was the fact that they've been purchased by Sony for $3.6 billion, $1.2 billion of which was supposed to be for staff retention, and they still laid off 100 employees. I think that for me is the biggest shock. I mean, is there anything from this that you guys are like, what the hell, like what's going on? Like,
well, the first off, when I first heard that, I was like, well, how long into the future would it be okay to have layoffs after there was money for employee retention? But also like $1.2 billion, that's a heck of a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yep.
How did they burn through all that in the...
And apparently they've already spent
was it like a year and a half?
Yeah, apparently.
It has something to
since
do with running.
Sony.
You know, another title that has to do with a lot of running with your legs.
You really think it's been spent on marathon?
That's because I don't see where it was spent on Destiny. I'm sorry, but like I don't see where it was spent on Destiny. Maybe I'm just not seeing it, but
yeah, I did read some news that the other articles and things, and they were talking about like that money having been spent to buy out employees' Bungie shares, which then went to Sony or something like that. Like that pot of money, that 1.2 billion, is gone. Right, and it's like, well, what have you spent that money on? And
you know what's crazy?
Go on.
Sorry.
No, go on,
You know
Dan.
what's crazy about that is they only have 1,100 employees. They had 1.2 billion. That's like $10 million per employee for employee retention. So they only have 1,100 employees. So
like, where the heck did it go?
Yeah. So you didn't pay. Yeah, I don't get it. It sort of beggars belief when you look at the amount of money they had for employee retention versus the number of employees that they have, and that they've managed to run themselves out of money to the degree that they had to lay off, what was it, 8 or 9%, as Kate said earlier, of their staff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so much money.
And you're just wondering about how the management are handling that money. And, obviously the management are on a higher salary.
They gave it to Callus.
Someone has to pay for all this bling bling.
That was not a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially for the toe rings with the diamonds.
Yeah. It's just insane. Obviously, I think wasn't there a building expansion or something like that they were building and spending money on too.
They have, that's been completed.
It's
an expensive building in an expensive area.
And from what I hear, like literally, like the Sony buyout is kind of what saved them, because the way in which they are managing their money, and they have money coming in, you know what I mean? Like Destiny is a cash cow, right? Like the amount of money that people must spend.
It appears so.
Right, like on season passes and seasonal content on the Eververse store, and like all the microtransactions, the cosmetics and everything. They must be raking it in, right? The problem that they have had is player retention. That is a big issue at the moment, obviously, with Destiny 2. And we will talk about that, why we think that is, but still. It's
amazing to me, one of the things I find somewhat baffling is that they talk about player retention being a problem. Everybody knows that player onboarding is a humongous problem. And yet they don't, for a company that just did a bunch of layoffs because their player base is wilting and they're losing players right and left. It's amazing to me that they haven't thought, gee, maybe we should change our onboarding and retention policies or procedures, because we're losing people out the back end faster than we're getting them in the front end. But that doesn't, they seem to have separated those two things entirely.
Yeah, 100%. I think that is a big issue, and we'll probably talk about that, when we do talk about like the future for Destiny and what Bungie need to do. I definitely want to talk about the onboarding side of things too, because that's very relevant to me. I'm probably the newest of all of us in terms of being a Destiny player. So that's all very fresh in mind for me. I'm a Destiny baby. Yes, I'm cutting my teeth on those. Yes, haven't done a raid yet. Still haven't done a raid. That's still something I need to do. But at some point eventually in the future. At some point in the future. So obviously, this year has been just crazy for me, because it's been such an incredible year for games. Like there have been so many amazing titles coming out this year, and the frequency of releases, the quality of releases have been absolutely incredible. But in the same time, it seems like it's just been the worst year for anyone working in the industry, right? Like, and layoffs, and
that's what I've heard.
Like apparently it's over 6,500 layoffs so far in the video game industry. There's people looking for new jobs, and that's insane for me. And that's
baffling too, isn't it? It's baffling. I mean, how can you have a banner year in terms of games for which your employees are responsible for producing that, and then you lay off? I don't understand how a banner year for games with fantastic games sales is followed by we're laying all you guys off. It doesn't compute.
Well, Bungie didn't have a good year, right? I mean, Lightfall
No,
was
they
out
didn't.
before we
No,
got
no.
all these good games, and Lightfall.
But
was kind
Lightfall sold
so
gangbusters though.
catastrophic.
Lightfall
Yeah.
itself as a season passes, it sold gangbusters. It was it was higher
Yeah.
selling than Witch Queen was, because they were riding off of the Witch
Yeah.
Queen and how incredible the Witch Queen, was
Yes,
as an expansion.
exactly.
So the initial step in of I think Lightfall brought a lot of new players into Destiny as well, because I think for me, I joined it after Witch Queen, right? And I heard how incredible Witch Queen was, and I was like, oh my god, this
Don't know from
sounds
who.
absolutely
Horrible friends. You need to get
amazing.
new friends. Kate. Horrible people.
And so I
Horrible
was
people, I
like,
told you that.
yeah, so I was like, I want to, for me, like Lightfall was supposed to be like the Infinity War of Marvel, right? So like Lightfall is like Infinity War, and hopefully, the last final shad? What? Final
Shape.
Oh my god, Jesus.
Shape.
You can tell I'm ill. You can tell I'm ill. The final shape is like Endgame, right? It's like the culmination, right, of 10 years worth of storytelling. So I was like, this seems like a great point to actually jump in, right? And so a lot of people, I think, were like that. But then obviously, yes, Lightfall massively disappointed. And then obviously, ever since that, the game has just had a real problem, with retaining people and season passes and changes.
I think the biggest,
like
I think I just heard yesterday from another content creator actually that they were showing Steam charts and of course Google charts, but Google Trends for player base. And they were saying that the largest fall off for Destiny was around September, October. Which I think, when did we stop playing every single day? That, I think it was around the same period of
Around
time.
then?
We were around the same time,
Yes.
and so we were part of a humongous, massive
Mass
drop-off.
exodus from Destiny.
Yes.
It all happened. It is kind of funny though that after you have an enormous, as Kate just said, an enormous selling expansion like Lightfall, was it Lightfall? It's too early
Yeah,
in the morning.
Lightfall.
And then came Lightfall.
Like Lightfall, it sells really well. Within a couple of months of that, you've run out of money, and so because you had this massive playoff. So do they count that much on, emote purchases and just crap that comes out of the Eververse?
Heard
Because
that-
what happened?
I've heard that Bungie has a really high burn rate, which is like they go through money like on a daily basis, like
Apparently.
it's yeah. So there's a lot coming in, but a lot going out too. I'm not sure what the
Talk about living
breakdown of
paycheck to
that is.
paycheck.
Yeah. It's like, making
Wasn't that also
100K
around
and living
the-
paycheck to paycheck.
Sorry. Wasn't that also around the time when they actually changed things in game around September or something? Like, when did they make everything so darn hard? When was that?
It was
That
with
was
Lightfall.
Lightfall. That was with Lightfall. Yeah.
It was with
Yeah.
Lightfall.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
they changed so much that it all played into it, I think. That people weren't happy.
Yeah.
You have this expansion that isn't what we expected. All of a sudden you go into a normal patrol area that should be rather relaxed, but it's hard. You're getting killed left, right, and center. The rewards aren't good, and yada yada. I think it's multiple reasons why so many people at that time jumped off.
Well, they made it harder, so it takes you like more time to do Nightfall, but you get the same rewards that you did, the season before. They changed it, which weren't the best to begin with, and then like you're spending so much more time to get the same stupid thing. It just feels very unrewarding and not worth it. Like, why am I doing this?
And the lost sectors became a complete loser to try to grind for exotics because now they're hard to do by yourself, and the drop rate is what, 1%? It's just not. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, like
it's a
why are we
joke.
doing this?
It's an absolute joke. Yeah.
Again, it's that onboarding issue that we talked about. Is with new players, it alienates them even further, because someone that is new, that doesn't have all of the best weapons, all of the exotics, the god rolls, doesn't really understand every. I don't understand the meta. I don't understand you know, build craft and things like that. I haven't been playing long enough, or it might not be lucky enough to have a fire team like I am that can be like, no, you need to use that, you need to use that kind of thing. I think for new players, it makes it even more impossible for them to bridge that gap, right? To be able to, and the more enjoyable content is the nightfalls, is the raids, you know.
Yes.
That is the more enjoyable, challenging content, the dungeons that you want to take on.
If you like to be challenged, of course. I mean, there might be players that see it differently, but if you want to achieve something and get this, you know, amazing feeling that's very similar to other feelings you can have in life if you're lucky, not going to name some now, then that's the way to go. And Kate, you had that with your onboarding experience. You had us, yes.
I did.
But if you look back and think, if you had gone in solo, would you even have known where to start?
No, like because the game doesn't do a very good job. Like you do start off and it gives you like a little bit of a because they did add that in, didn't they? Where it gives you like a not tutorial, but a little bit of a go here, go here, go here, go here. But like you still would have no idea. Even before I jumped into Destiny, I'm like, well, I need to catch up on like what's going on. So I think I went to like Bife's channel and watched like a 2-hour long video of breaking down like the story and the lore, because even a lot of like the story content, which is what I'm invested in, because that's what I love, right? That's my bread and butter for games. I'm always in it for the story and the storytelling. I've always been that way with games. But large chunks of the story, of the characters, of the world, of the lore is just ripped out of the game and vaulted, right? And like you're getting on the base game, and if you really want to experience everything, if I really want to be able to play certain dungeons and, you know, raids or nightfall strikes or whatever, I have to put down money, and there are a lot of expansions,
a lot of money,
and it's not, you know, and then like it was like, okay, so if I buy that expansion, but then I also then have to pay separately to get the dungeon, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then then if I want to do the seasonal content, I then have to buy the season pass expansions, and so it was just like, I thought, you see games and you're like, okay, you put down, I don't know, £50, right? You know, get in, get everything, fine, no problem. But that's not the case with Destiny. And there were so many times when I was playing with you girls and I was like, I can't do that, I don't have it, right? Like, oh, that's rotated in this week, I can't do it, I don't have it. And then I even remember at one point you girls, like, bless you, banded together to buy me like I think a dungeon or like content so I could actually then play with you, right? Like, or I'd have to wait for a sale. And it's knowing what to buy and what not to buy, and it's not great. It's not a great experience.
I haven't done the math, but I saw somewhere, I think another content creator, he did the math, and he said if you started now and you wanted to have the full experience, have everything, that Destiny 2 has brought out, it would be round about $600. That was his amount. Like I said, I haven't done the math, so don't come crucify me if it's wrong.
Yeah.
But I could imagine that it would add up to that, and that's just ludicrous.
Yeah,
it is ludicrous.
And half of that we don't have access to anymore.
Well, that's it. I even bought I think I bought the Forsaken pack, right? Because I wanted access to some of the exotics and things, and I was like, oh great, I get to play the actual like campaign, like where like Cade 6 gets, spoilers, but Cade gets killed, but don't worry, he's back.
They don't know that by now.
It's fine. And somehow through magic, and like so, but I didn't even get to play that because it was like, no, sorry, that's faulted. So I was like, what?
Didn't we stumble over that problem that we wanted to do something? I think from the Vanguard playlist. I think it was a Nightfall or whatnot, something in a weekly rotation where they say this is free to everybody, and we were in it, and we couldn't start it because it said one fire team member doesn't have access or something, and that's when we realized you have to buy another pack just to get this. That's ridiculous.
It's really not good. It's really not a good onboarding kind of experience. So it's not surprising, that there has been such a drop off of obviously players, within seasoned players as well as new players, right? But 100%, like if I hadn't had you guys, like I wouldn't. Well, I'm not playing it currently because I'm playing like Baldur's Gate 3 and many other games. But like I definitely wouldn't be playing it, and I probably wouldn't have bought Lightfall, and I probably wouldn't be planning to buy Final Shape, right? Like I probably would have dropped off. But
same with me. Sorry.
No, go on, Diana. What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I owned all of the expansions through a variety of means. Is not worth going into here, but because I'm an idiot and I kept buying them. Whatever. I owned all of them because I kept thinking I'd go back. I had tried Destiny years ago with my daughter, and so it was kind of sentimental to me. And I kept thinking I'd go back. So I happened to own all of the expansions, but I didn't play it. So two things I just wanted to comment. It just as further what you guys saying. Number one, if I can't speak for Totes, but as I know Totes played it earlier too, I know that if I hadn't had Glim to walk us through, to basically be a Sherpa, I wouldn't have picked it up again because it was so effing confusing.
Uh-huh.
That's the first thing. But the other thing I also think is
the same thing I wanted to say.
Yeah. The other 2 points I wanted to make really quick was, number one, I do think if they had the game has some unbelievable high points, and there are a lot of potentials. I think that's why people got so much angst over this, is because the game has so much more potential. The game is so good in so many ways, but the bad things are just really bad. I do think though that if the onboarding experience were fantastic, which it could be, they could redo the onboarding experience. I do think people would lay out the money for a live service game that they could see themselves playing years down the road if the game invested them so well early on. People would, maybe not $600, but people would spend way more than they might otherwise. But the onboarding is so abysmal that all you can think is that it's a joke that they actually want you to spend money to get onboarded into a game that you can't even figure out what you're supposed to do next. How many friends have we tried to get into this game who we're willing to help them get on board?
Countless.
And all they can say is, I can't see anything it's worth spending this money on. It's so confusing. It's like shooting yourselves in the foot. It baffles the mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yes, I wanted to say a similar thing than what Diana just pointed out. Like UK had the experience coming in as a newbie, as a Destiny baby, as we established earlier. Diana and I, we both played Destiny 1, I think, and Destiny 2. And then I dropped off after. I've never done a raid, never done Grandmaster, all that. I just dropped off, lost the contact to the group I was playing with. And then, obviously, now, we met Glim, and we all got together. And without her, even though I knew a lot about the game, I would have been lost. I think we also needed someone as players who know the game to get back into it, And that's a bit shocking.
Yeah, it doesn't do a very good job of onboarding new players. So
That's an understatement.
Yeah, you do feel very overwhelmed by it, intimidated by it, insulted by it a little bit. It's like, you want me to pay how much? Like, I don't even know what I'm getting. You know what I mean? Like, kind of thing. And then even some of that content being just ripped out, right? I think the worst thing that ever happened to Destiny was the whole vaulting. I think that's a shocking,
100%
shocking thing that they introduced. And I think if you purchase that content, you should always have access to that content. I think it's a completely anti-consumer way of handling and managing your game. I think it's shocking.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the biggest turn-offs for a lot of people, is the fact that, well, I can't actually play all the story. So, and when you're getting to Final Shape, right, which is the culmination of 10 years worth of storytelling, but new players can't actually experience that story, and therefore they don't feel as invested in what is going to be coming with Final Shape, and all the characters and where we're at, and everything that those characters have gone through, right? Like, you just don't see that.
That's right. I think one of the saddest things one of our friends told us was, it was a girl we were trying to get into the game. I don't know. This is before Lightfall came out, and she played for about a month and then she quit. And I was kind of asking her what it was about, because she was a Halo fan, so she thought she'd be a good fit for Destiny. And she said, I don't understand the story. She said, I keep these people at the tower, like Zavala and Ikora, she said, they're just vendors to me. She goes, I don't understand why I'm supposed to care about them. They're just vendors. I thought that was so sad. Like, she has no idea why Zavala is important, why Ikora is important, why Cade was important. He's just a vendor. Zavala's just a vendor, you guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I did play Destiny 1, you know, so I'm not a complete noob in a way. I am, because I came in much later, and obviously a lot had changed in Destiny 2. But at least I had played Destiny 1, so I knew who Zavala was. I knew who Cade was. I was sad to hear that Cade had died, right? Obviously, in Forsaken. He was my favourite character. I knew Zavala, you know, and so I knew them all. So I wasn't completely blind. But yeah, if you hadn't played the first Destiny, right, and you come in, you'd have no idea. And I think that's really bad, you know, to have to go to a YouTube content creator to get that information instead of the actual game that you've purchased is crazy to me.
It is.
Yeah, Bungie tends to rely too much on
their community,
YouTube creators, you know, explaining their lore. I think, you know, I heard somewhat recently that, you know, the little like cutscenes that they have. They do really good cutscenes in Destiny.
They do.
But that they were telling people to pull those off of YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like if they want to do something with that, like I mean, Bungie could do, like, they've got a channel. They could do like amazing, like, lore of Destiny, or, you know, history of Destiny. They could cut stuff together and make it like amazing, really. But I haven't seen them do anything with that.
I mean, they could put that into the game, though. You know, like there are parts where
if they yeah,
like
or
in a
into
menu
the
or
game.
something. Yeah. In like a menu or something. Because there are, like, when you go into a sequel, right? Like sometimes you'll buy a sequel, and sometimes they'll be like, this is what happened previously, right? And it's a short, like, little 5-minute recap or whatever. Like, I think it was like in Mass Effect 2, where they had this amazing comic book, right, where you could play back through that comic book and you could make those choices that you had made in the first game, or like you would make, right, you know, to create the world in it was a bit of a different thing because it was obviously creating the choices, but they could do something so cool like that, right, in Destiny.
Well, I mean, you know, in the director, there's this like timeline thingy, and I thought that they were going to put something like that in there. Like, you know, have something in the game that would be a little bit of like backstory for new people coming in. But it was a very disappointing, like,
absolutely.
This is what happened, you know, get this expansion.
Yes. Yeah, now I know what you're referring to. It says actually timeline, but when you click on it, it's just like, buy this.
Buy this, buy that.
Yeah, but that tells you everything, though, doesn't it? Because it's like the first instinct of Bungie is to put you in the direction of the shop. Buy this, buy this, buy this expansion, buy this expansion. That tells you that everything that they are doing is driven by monetary gain. It is not driven by the game, creativity, the community. It is, and that tells you that it is the management, the way in which it's being managed. It is being driven by figures, by numbers. That is all they care about, and that's why we've had 100 people laid off, and the state that that Bungie is in, and the state that Destiny's in, because the community are getting tired of that, and they are not putting down their money, and they are not. I think the biggest, maybe what's happened is when they did the announcement for Final Shape, I think perhaps their pre-order rate, right, like what they predicted in terms of people pre-ordering that, has not been as high as they had predicted, and maybe that's where that 45% revenue thing is coming from, that they were maybe anticipating more people would be pre-ordering it, putting down the money ahead of the time.
I bet those layoffs helped.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people are canceling the pre-orders.
Absolutely. I would have pre-ordered Final Shape because I absolutely will go back and play Final Shape, but I'm not pre-ordering it now.
No, I haven't pre-ordered it either.
No one has of us, right? We all have stayed away.
Yeah.
Although
I might quote unquote pre-order it like 2 days.
2 days before.
I might pre-order it like 2 days before to get the bonuses, but like, kind of like
sneaky.
Yeah, it'd be
that's why
interesting.
Bungie hates you.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's where it's coming from. I mean, obviously, looking ahead into Final Shape, right? Like, are you guys looking forward to Final Shape? I mean, are you planning to... I don't know if you've thought that far ahead, but I know for a lot of people, they're looking at Final Shape as kind of the natural dropping off point for them. Or are you hoping to continue playing ahead of that? Or are you going to see how Final Shape turns out? How are you feeling about going into Final Shape? What are you hoping for? Like, in it, like, what are your thoughts?
I'm hoping for a conclusion. Honestly, I've played this game pretty much since the beginning. I came in like a couple weeks after Destiny 1 started, and I'm kind of tired of it. It's become so formulaic.
Yeah.
This putting out an expansion, and we got the seasons, and like kind of every season is kind of the same. They've got the same format. You get your 3 or 6 player activity, sometimes both, a 3 player and a 6 player. You got the vendor is very much the same. There's been little changes along the way, but like the last few years have been very much the same. And I was kind of, before Lightfall even came out, I was kind of looking to the Final Shape as kind of, this is like a definite endpoint for me. Like, I'm not going to go any further. I do want to kind of see the conclusion of it because I've been with the game so long, but like, I've definitely been feeling burned out. Actually, when Diana and Totes came on the scene, I was feeling super burned out then.
Right.
And
we revitalized you.
Yes, you revitalized me. Like the enthusiasm of like seeing Destiny through a beginner's eyes. It kind of revitalized me for a while, but yeah,
a couple years. So
I'm just looking for a conclusion. I'm just hanging in till that last expansion.
yeah. So you're thinking that might be the final jump off for you, Totes?
Yeah, and I think it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, I jumped off. I don't know. I jumped off, and I think I was the one of us that was most adamant that I've had it with Bungie. I've had it with Destiny because I was tired of the freaking grind. The game is great. Combat unmatched, I find. The way the builds, the loadouts you can have, they make you feel powerful, they make you feel unique. The fluidity of the combat, I love it. I really love it. Us playing together, playing with people you actually like, having them on a team, conquering something amazing. And I don't know what can replace that. Yet still, I was at that point where I was like, it's too much for me. It's got too hard. They're constantly putting, we want your money in my face. Every event, like, I don't know if I ever told you, but I fell victim to one of their first heists they pulled, I want to say. When, whenever there's an event, they have this event card. And you can do challenges and you get stuff, but they also put in your face, hey, pay this and you get something. And the first time I got this pop-up, I thought I need to pay that money to take part in the event. And so I clicked it. What I got were 3 cosmetics, overpriced, I think 20 euros or something, I can't remember, but overpriced cosmetics. But the way they place it, I fell for it, and I think I'm not the only one. I hope at least I'm not the only one.
You're not. I bought one. I bought one early on too.
As dumb as I look, but so I
they
thought
make it real easy to click on it.
So everything coming together and what happened, I jumped off and thought I'm never gonna play again. And then a few weeks back, I started noticing that I really miss it. I miss the group dynamic. I miss certain things. So I'm open again for it. Looking forward to the end of the story, obviously, what Glim already said. I want to see the end. And I want to say one thing in life, never say never. Bungie can still turn the boat around. And I would be willing, if there is some change, I would be willing to jump back into the boat. That's from me.
To give him a second chance, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Diana?
Only with you guys, of course. I'm not doing it alone.
yeah, of course. Diana?
I would probably echo both what both Glim and Totes said. I'm definitely going to purchase and play Final Shape. There's no way I'm not going to see the story through. I'm invested in this in the story that I know so far. As for what comes after Final Shape, I'm kind of along like Totes. I love the game world is gorgeous. The graphics are fantastic. I've never had more. Honestly, the fun times I've had in Destiny with friends and just playing and the way the combat works, I've probably never had more fun in a game. And that's got a hugely magnetic pull. I'm a little nervous about what comes after the final shape because I think going to these sort of episodic things, I just don't know if they can maintain. I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about that. I will honestly probably give it a chance after the final shape because I'll guarantee I'm going to get sucked back in unless the final shape tanks. If it's a good expansion, I'm going to be sucked back into it, and I'll probably try the episodes. But I'm pretty nervous about that format, to be honest, because I just believe very strongly that they have diverted, and more so by then will have diverted a lot of their developmental talent to Marathon.
Yeah,
and I just. Nobody wants to feel like the stepchild. You know what I mean? Not when Destiny is the one who's brought in all the money.
Yeah, I mean they're going to keep Destiny going because it is their only source of income at the moment. It is their cash cow, right? They have no choice but to try and keep it going. Whether or not they depends on how Marathon does, right? How that performs when that game comes out as to whether or not they slowly.
Don't know about you guys. Have you heard anything good about Marathon?
Not yet. No.
There isn't much about it.
No, there's not much about it.
I think they got some. Was it because it's like it's an extraction shooter, isn't it? So a little bit
the
like
Tarkov. They had a bunch of Tarkov
players, that played it, and I think the reaction wasn't overly like, oh, it's amazing. It was just, it's okay. It's in progress. Kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
But I'm really not interested in extraction shooters. I'm really not interested in PvP, even though we have dabbled in PvP now and again. It's the PvE experience of Destiny that I love, right? And that I enjoy, that team coordination, cooperative team play, that kind of thing. I just can't see myself. I can't see myself playing Marathon, if I'm honest. I just don't think it's my kind of game. I just don't.
I thought it looked fantastic when they showed that first clip of it. I thought it looked stunning. So I actually expressed. I think I actually expressed interest on the Discord channel about being interested in Marathon. But I'll be honest, I did not know what an extraction shooter was. I just didn't know. So once I googled what an extraction shooter is, I'm like, that's not for me. I'm going to spend my entire time dead with an empty bag, going, please stop killing me.
Yeah,
that's why that's never appealed to me.
I've played a few extraction shooters. Like I've dabbled and tried them, but I always jump out of them very quickly, and I think that's why, like, I don't think that Marathon will have the same legs that Destiny has had, because I think extraction shooters, for me personally, as a gaming genre, they burn very hot, right, and then they kind of fizzle out. And I feel that Marathon, unless, I don't know, Bungie could do something and it could be amazing. Whatever. Anything could happen. But I really don't think...
They can bill you for every extraction.
Oh, good God. Don't give them ideas, Totes. Don't give them ideas.
Pay $5 and extract these items.
Oh, dear Gideon. So I just don't think it's got the longevity that Destiny is going to have. So... I think it will and then they're working on something else as well, aren't they? I think they've got 3 games at the moment. Destiny Marathon on something else.
Yes, I heard so too.
I forget the code name.
They had one called Matter, but I heard that IP got canceled. I don't know if that's true or not, but I read somewhere.
Oh, really?
Probably on Reddit that IP was canceled. I don't know if that's true. Yeah. But it was called, the code name for it was called Matter.
What you're saying is Matter doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Joke.
Are we sort of saying then, like with Marathon then, so Danny, are you going to give it a chance or are you just not interested?
Marathon?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm probably going to wait and see how I feel about the final shape before I express any interest in the other. I'm extraction shooters, from my understanding of what they are, does not appeal to me.
Yeah.
So, although I understand, I think that's a very popular genre right now, is it not?
Yeah. Well, it is. And
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Like that, and obviously, Fortnites and all of those kind of things. But like, I just, I feel like that's again where you know when like developers or publishers try and chase trends, but by the time the game comes out, that trend has come and passed, and people are tired of that trend, and they're burnt out because of how saturated that market has become. So it's even harder to get into that market. Whereas when Destiny 1 came out, like, you know, games as a service, like it was very leading the way was Destiny, right? It was one of the first kind of really, you know, those sorts of experiences, right? Of constantly adding content and supporting it. It was quite new. So it didn't have much competition at the time, right? Whereas Marathon, it will have a lot of competition, and there will already be quite like established, you know, games, you know, and communities already. So you've got to try and pull them away, right? So I don't know. I think it's got its work cut out for it, personally.
Well, no, if Marathon were a bit like...
Oh, sorry. What are you saying? Who said what? I think Totes and Diana talked at the same time.
Totes were the same. Yeah.
What were you saying, Totes?
Yeah. We're twin-brained. Most likely we're going to say the same thing. So, Diana, please. Beauty for A before A. So you go first.
Oh, I will go first then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think all I was going to say is if they can't keep their flagship game going, the game that has brought in all their dollars, all their people, made Bungie's name, if they can't keep that game going, I don't think it speaks well for the second child they're trying to birth.
Yeah. Fair. Very, very fair. I was interested in obviously, because I haven't asked you this, Glim, because you're someone who has played pretty much since Destiny 1 all the way through, right? So I was really interested as well to get your take on things. And you know, as someone who has played Destiny, you know, since the beginning, for you, obviously the game has changed quite significantly from, you know, when it first came out. But of those changes, what were the things that you liked and what were the things that you disliked about how Destiny has kind of evolved and changed over the past 10 years?
You know, the thing I first think of is back when Destiny started, and even like Destiny 2 when Destiny 2 started, they would have like, you know, major content releases, and then there wouldn't be anything until the next expansion or DLC or whatever. So it wasn't like a game as a service exactly like it is now, where there's constantly like seasons and whatnot. So there was the issue of content droughts, where there would be people would burn through the new content very quickly, and then there would be nothing for them to do. But now with the seasonal model that they've got now, I think I preferred before, because when there was content droughts, I would go through and do stuff like, oh well, I haven't really, you know, done this bit of content, and then I'd have time to do that before the next thing came out. You know, I haven't, you know, I used to be really into the Triumph thing, so I'd be like, oh, I haven't finished this Triumph, I'll go do that now. But now with the seasonal thing, there's always something to do, but the way that Bungie handles things, it's also like a bunch of grind thrown in, and there's always been a certain elements of grind in Destiny, but I feel like it's more since the seasonal model came up, and just kind of a lot of pointless grind.
It's a time
part
pressure
of that has been alleviated by the taking out the power levels every season. They reduced it a bit at one point to only being like 10 light levels instead of 50 or something. I can't remember. 50. But they've totally taken that out this last year with Lightfall. There was the power jump for Lightfall, but there hasn't been the power jump each season, which has reduced some grind. But I was talking with Totes recently about that, and what were you saying? It's like, it feels like when there was that grind for power level, like every bit of gear that you got that was, you know, power or pinnacle drops, like it still felt somewhat rewarding, because you were getting like, it was a crap piece of armor, but you were still being able to infuse it into your gear, and you're still being able to get something out of it. But there's not even that anymore.
Yes.
So like it's kind of eliminated one problem but created another. Because like you don't have to have quite the grind to do like the in-game content, but everything in general feels like less rewarding. So yeah, the amount of grind that Destiny has put into the game to kind of artificially inflate their numbers, I feel like sometimes, is something I don't like. It has been nice to have like a fairly, you know, stable, like every year we get like a big expansion with a bunch of new content. So there's that, because it wasn't necessarily on, I don't think it was necessarily on the yearly basis that we would get big drops like that. In like D1. I remember like there was, you know, Destiny and then a couple expansions like the House of Wolves and the one that brought the Critter Raid, I can't remember what it's called. And then like the next like the Taken King was a really big expansion, a really big deal. But then like the Rise of Iron, which was good, but it was like not, it was more a DLC where there wasn't as much content to it. So like it's nice to have like that big expansion every year.
Something to look forward to, kind of thing.
But
how have you felt about the seasonal stuff, like the episodic kind of like continuing on the story through that, like the weekly missions? Like, do you like that? Have you enjoyed that?
I don't like the weekly time gating. I really don't.
And because that content goes, doesn't it, once the season's done, right? So you can't, like, say if you missed a season, right, you can't play that story, can you? I don't really know.
They have that kind of on a yearly basis now. Like, the season that came out with Lightfall is it's there until the next big expansion comes out. The only thing is like the last season in the year gets kind of shortchanged because it's just there until the next big expansion. So, like the season of the Wish that's coming out in, I don't know, a week or two, whatever it is. Like that one's going to be a little bit shortchanged because it's not there for like a full year. It's just there for till the next expansion.
Okay. So obviously, let's try and end this on a bit of a positive note.
Sorry.
As much as we can. No, it's fine. Like, honestly, the topic itself is quite heavy anyway, and it's Destiny and Bungie. This is not you. This is Bungie's fault. This is not your fault, Glim. But, like, looking forward then, what do you think positively that if you were to, let's say you were called into a meeting, right, and they asked the community to come and give their thoughts and recommendations, what do you think Bungie should do or could do to try and keep Destiny alive, or to convince players to return, right? Or even to keep playing? What do you think are the things they should focus on and the things that they should maybe avoid? Any ideas on that?
I'm going to say a couple little ones because I really don't have any super intelligent answer here. But so I'm going to say number one, I'd like to see player modes that were not just 3 or 6. I think that would be fun, especially if you're in a clan, you've got friends, you can, like, there's 4 of us. This is the problem right here. There are 4 of us. We can never play together. It's always somebody has to get booted into the back seat because the other 3 need to want to finish this or that. So that's kind of a bummer. I'd like to do that.
Unless we want to play Gambit.
Gambit, right?
Well, Gambit,
or like
we can play
PvP.
Gambit.
Yeah, there's always Gambit.
Yeah, I know. But it would be awesome, like, if we could actually play like a dungeon together, right? Or,
Oh my God.
That's a 4 player. That would be
Make
so
it more
good.
flexible.
I think making the player modes more flexible would be fun.
Yeah.
I will say too, this is not a direct answer to your question, but I'm going to say the power of Destiny and the power of how good the game can be. Just this hour sitting here talking and listening to you guys talk about Destiny, guess what I feel like doing now?
Playing it.
The game
Destiny.
definitely has a drug aspect to it that, like, I haven't played Destiny more than excuse me, twice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, twice in the last 3 months. But now I'm like, well, I know I have a bunch of chores this afternoon, but maybe I can get a few hours of Destiny in as well. God.
Yeah. Destiny. There is nothing like Destiny. The 2 parts that they brought together, that as a multiplayer, we can do PvE stuff, fight against NPCs, so to speak, like enemies. But there's also the PvP part, and both of that combined in one game, it's fantastic. Like, which other game is like that? Which other game gives us that? There's none.
Yeah.
So that's my positive, that Destiny holds a very unique place. It's like, the only thing on the market right now that does that. And it's heartbreaking that they're not changing it for the better, that they're not drawing in more people and keeping it alive.
I felt for a long time actually that Destiny is a good game, but it's so close to like being a great game, like an amazing game that you'd want to like get all your friends playing, but it's there's some issues with it that are just holding it back, and the monetization is one of them,
Yeah, I think less monetization is a good thing. Having quality for the money that you're putting down. You know what I mean? You can't tell me that buying a skin for $20 or £20 is quality content. You know what I mean? Like, honestly.
And yet all of us have done it.
Well, I haven't
I don't know what you're
actually.
talking
I
about.
haven't. And I refuse.
I can neither confirm
I
nor
was
deny that.
I was tempted, especially by the Sony ones when they did the Ghost of Tsushima one and the Horizon. The Horizon one looked amazing for
I
the
know.
Hunter,
Assassin's Creed one.
and I
Assassin's
was
Creed
like,
one.
I really want
just
it.
couldn't pay 20
I
bucks for
really
that.
want it, but I'm not. I categorically refuse to put it down because I was just like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, me too.
And
It's like $20 per character, like
I know.
$60 for all 3 characters.
disgusting.
Like,
That's a
what
price.
the
I
heck?
could buy a new game for that. You know what I mean? Or I could buy like 3
I know.
indie games for that price, right? Like that. It's just
Yeah.
respect my money and respect my time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the biggest issue I think they do have is that they're not doing that. You know what I mean? And
They're not respecting our time whatsoever.
and I think one of the biggest drop-offs, the reasons for the drop-offs this year as well, is because there have been other options, more other options and better options this year more than any other year, right? Like, you look at the time period, September, when a lot of people dropped out. Oh, what game came out in September? Oh, yes, Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, you must be talking about Starfield, right?
Right, or Starfield, right? Baldur's Gate 3 or Starfield. Those are the two biggest ones at that time of the year. And then there's been many other amazing games this year as well. But Baldur's Gate, it's a multiplayer game. 4-player, cooperative multiplayer RPG. You know what I mean? And so, like, I bet you a lot of people have been dropping off into other games. There have been some great third-person shooters this year. Remnant 2 is a third-person action shooter. Fantastic. Abilities, gunplay. It reminded me heavily of Destiny in that way. Fantastic.
But only limited to 2 players, right? Two people can play
2
together.
other people. 3-player. So it's a three-player team. Not 4-player, I want 4-player. But yeah, it's a 3-player. So like there have been a lot of really good other things. The biggest one that I have that I think Bungie need to sort out and even need to sort out before Final Shape, because I think the last chance that they have to bring an influx of players and to try and spark some life into Destiny again is Final Shape. And I think the biggest issue they have is onboarding. They need to bring on board players, and I don't know how they would do this. I don't know if we know the feasibility of it all, but seriously, that content in that vault, make it available, right? Make a pack, a content pack, maybe it's £60, £80, I don't care. All of the content in Destiny 2, right? All of the expansions, everything up to date. Give people the chance to play it all from the beginning, to experience that full story, to have a better onboarding experience. And then maybe people that will be like, oh my God, I'm so invested in this, right? And then they will maybe want to continue playing on going forward. But I just think if you're losing your existing like player base and your seasoned players, which are genuinely feeling burnt out by the game and burnt out by the grind of Destiny 2, then your only other avenue really is to try and bring on new players that won't be feeling that burnout and want to experience something new, and they may bring in their friends that haven't played Destiny, right? But that onboarding experience is absolutely impossible at the moment, and is so awful that it's not gaining fresh blood to replace the that's a horrible thing to say, but to replace the old blood that's kind of leaving, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Sorry, no, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? So yes, I think for me that is the biggest thing that Bungie really need to sort out, and not do like weekly episodic. Oh, you can play this mission from this expansion pack, right? No, you need the whole experience. Not like, oh, I can play the mission where Cade dies, but then nothing after it, right? Like that's silly,
Right?
you know.
Right.
And that's too piecemeal for me to fully.
If you don't get any context, what it doesn't, it's meaningless.
Yeah. So you've not had that build up. So I think that's the biggest issue for me that Destiny has.
Well, you have to succeed, don't you, at one or the other? You have to succeed at either player retention, or you have to succeed at bringing new players in. That's just common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're clearly failing at both at the
Right,
moment.
exactly. We're
aren't
having
they?
problems on both ends at the moment.
Yeah, which is why so many people are dropping off, like we have done. So we will be jumping in probably to play the final shape next year. If you guys are up for it, I would like to actually cover it on the channel next year. Maybe do some streams of it. Maybe even do a review discussion on it. And we can give our final stamp of what we think of it, like at the end after we've played it. But yeah, before we obviously pull together the discussion, is there any like final things that you guys want to say or want to comment on what we've been talking about, or anything extra you want to add?
I'm good.
I want to say that I think the community has been loud and clear, telling Bungie what would help, what would make us want to play more, what should be changed. And Bungie seems to listen to a degree, and then they throw us a little bone. But they're not throwing enough. And so all we can do is we can lean back and say, like the Japanese say, shakatanayo. It is what it is.
It can't be helped.
It can't be helped.
Okay, yes, you made your own bed, now sleep in it. Like kind of thing. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Whatever would be, will be.
Yes, and we'll just have to sort of see what comes with final shape. I think that will be the biggest thing. Glim, any last words that you want to say, or?
Yeah, I just hope final shape shapes up to be something good, because, you know, I've missed taking a few months break here, and I miss the camaraderie of playing with people in Destiny and having those good times, and I hope they bring it back at least to some degree with their maybe final entry.
Yes, let's hope so, because we all want Destiny to succeed. We all want Bungie to succeed, you know. This is all coming from a place of love, right? Like, obviously we love this game and we want it to, and the community feels the same way, right? Like, even though they, you know, we want the game to succeed, we want Bungie to succeed, you know, we don't want it to fail. And obviously these are just some of our thoughts on it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for like joining me for the discussion today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And,
it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Oh, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it, guys, honestly. And I am very much looking forward to jumping in and playing more with you guys at some point soon. And yeah, I'm sure you'll hear from Diana, Totes and Glim again in the future, especially next year when Final Shape comes out, whether that's in February or June, because obviously the rumor is it's going to be delayed till June at the moment, so give us a little bit more time, I suppose. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Obviously, I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion, and stay tuned for more content in the future. Take care, everybody. And
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
Hey, Kate, you should go.
I should go. We should go.
Message coming in. Patching it through.
All right. So the second community question that we have for today's podcast is from James Wells. And James, basically, this was directed at you and me, Dante, but Fish, also please get involved and answer too. So James said, will you and Big D, why he calls you Big D, ever visit your cousin here in America? And which cities would you like to visit? So what do you guys think? Like, we've been to a couple of cities. I know I have, definitely.
I've travelled around America too. I'd say I could tell you where I wouldn't go back to. I wouldn't go back to Vegas. Jesus.
I've never been to Vegas. To be fair, Vegas has never really interested me, to be fair.
It's like Blackpool, but just 100 times more.
Oh dear. More cheesy.
I just don't get the appeal of Vegas. Maybe, I don't know. I found it. I just found it really depressing.
Really?
Yeah, it's like you go to bed and because it's like you're in the middle of the desert, stupidly hot, and you'll go to bed and then you'll come back downstairs and you'll see the same person sat at the same machine, and you know they've been there all night just going.
Yeah,
and you know they've not moved, and I just found the entire thing really depressing. But that's just me. I appreciate other people absolutely love Vegas for the people love Vegas for the party atmosphere
and the shows as well. Sometimes
and the shows.
Well.
So there are other things to go there for. Maybe I will go back at some point in the future and try and test the waters again.
When you're old.
when I'm an old man. But
lost the will. Yes.
I need to. I'd like to go over to San Francisco. I've not been there.
Me too.
I know that there's the kind of on the West Coast. One on my bucket list is to go see the Winchester Mansion.
Winchester Mansion.
It's part of my love of all things spooky. You know of the Winchester rifle?
Yes.
Well, the woman, the wife of the guy who invented it, when she lost her husband, went slightly mad, got really into spiritualism, and was told that the ghosts of the people people who basically killed by their weapon, the Winchester rifle, were after her. So she moved across the country, then spent pretty much the entire family fortune right up until her death building this really bizarre house with like doors that didn't go anywhere, staircases that just disappear, and like the several floors, doors and windows that like open to the outside of the house that as though you're going into a room, but all of a sudden, no, it's just a wall and a 3-story drop. And basically, yeah, the house is like still there. You can go visit it today, and it's just a labyrinth of weird and wonderful doors and passages that don't go anywhere.
Okay.
And the other one, just for fun, is New York. I love New York as a city. It's great. I could go back there many times. There's so much to see.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah,
I'm the only one out of you guys that hasn't been to New York yet.
And that is a place I really want to take you to. I really want you to go to see New York because
I want to see the Ghostbusters HQ. Yeah, Nintendo World, Ghostbusters HQ.
Yeah, exactly. Just those two places, not Statue of Liberty or anything else. But I was there like 2001, so I did a study abroad in America for 6 months when I was at university, and I was in Indiana. So I was in Indiana. So I only...
Was it Erie?
No, it wasn't Erie, Indiana. No. Muncie, Indiana, which is like about an hour from the capital, Indianapolis. Check me and my geography. And so when I was there, I mostly saw the East Coast. I got to go to Chicago, but I was like 19 when I went. So I wasn't allowed to go into any like blues bars or jazz bars, so I was really disappointed because I really wanted to like check out the night scene and stuff in Chicago, and I never got to. So I really want to go back as an adult who can drink legally in America and be able to obviously experience that. I went to New York actually at New Year, which was really cool. It's an amazing city, like really cool city. You definitely should go at least once, I'd say, in your life. It is one of those places on your list that's kind of like you must do it, like just like Japan or whatever, might be on there as well, or different things. I also got to go to Washington DC, which I really liked, obviously being a big kind of history person as well, and then obviously I got to go to Boston, but Boston was beautiful, but there really wasn't that much like there, like other than like Harvard. Is it in Boston?
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
I had the same. I went to Baltimore to stay with my cousin, and the city itself is lovely, but the outside of the touristy stuff, I didn't see that there was much to do.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
Other than a nice visit, I don't know whether I'd go back. And I think the obvious one is all three of us have been together. We've been to Disney, and it wouldn't take much to twist our arms to go to Florida and go back again.
Yeah.
Especially with Nintendo World opening in 2025.
Yes, for sure. That is definitely. I want to go check out Nintendo World. Absolutely.
So we will be going at some point again.
We're about to start saving now.
Again. again.
Yeah, but we're
More
all
saving.
like huge, like we all love Disney, right? So like when I've always wanted to go to Disneyland, like since I was a kid, really. And the first time I went was with you guys, obviously a few years ago, and I was like a kid at Christmas. Like it was just great, and the parks are just awesome. I really liked Epcot. Like I really
great.
enjoyed Epcot a lot.
As someone who's recently just been and done the Food and Wine Festival, Epcot is something that I could just quite happily eat my way around every time.
Eat your way around America.
Just all the different countries of the world around World Showcase, and just food, drink.
Yeah.
The dangerous one we got was there was a margarita in the Mexico Pavilion. And we were sharing it between two of us. We got halfway through the one drink and we were pretty feeling it. Like they did not skimp on whatever was in that. That was a dangerous drink.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely want to go back to America. I'd like to see more of the West Coast, and I hear Colorado's really beautiful too, like the mountains and stuff. And I've always kind of been curious about the Grand Canyon, like just going to it at least once and seeing
it's nice.
it. You know, I've never been. I'm assuming you visited that when you went to Vegas, because that's not too
yes,
far
we
from.
stopped
I say
off
not too far, but closer than you.
Yeah, we were staying at
so.
Vegas to do the canyons. We did the Hoover Dam.
Nice. Okay.
I'd say the one thing that absolutely baffles me on that end of it is you will be driving for like 4 or 5 hours and you won't see a sign of life.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a small little Native American woman selling bracelets at the side of the road and you're like, where the hell have you come from? There's nothing around for like 5-hour driving. There is no sign of life, and yet you've got a little stall in the middle of nowhere.
She just appeared.
Where did you come from?
like that Chinese woman on the Great Wall of China, Dante.
Coca-Cola.
We were walking. Where did you come from? Selling. I needed that drink though. It was bloody hot. Like seriously. So yeah, I definitely want to go visit America, and I have a lot of friends in America that I made obviously when I was in Japan. So I'd like to go visit some of them. And like just reconnect and stuff and just travel. But if you guys, obviously, I'm sure you will, if you have any suggestions on good places to visit, places to stay, food to eat, please do share that in the comments section and let us know where you would recommend for us to check out, because I'm sure there are plenty of other than the big well-known places. I'm sure there are lots of other really cool places to check out and stuff, so please do share those.
Anything for you, Dante? Anywhere you'd like visiting the States?
Oh, find the aliens in Area 51. Oh, wait.
I knew you were going to say Area 51. I knew that was going to be your answer.
Immediately gets arrested.
I was sat here thinking, he's going to mention Area 51. I know he is. First thing out of your mouth. I'm so happy I know you so well.
It only popped in my head like 5 minutes ago as well, because you started talking about the Hoover Dam. It's like, where'd that go?
I'm so happy I know you so well.
But yeah, because I've pretty limited. Florida quite a few times, and then a little hop here and there, but I haven't really properly got to explore. And of course, maybe Canada. Are we allowed Canada?
Yeah, I'd like to go to Canada. I have there's only like a few places, but I have a friend in Toronto. So
give me some maple syrup.
No. Yes.
Yes.
And we have a friend in Chicago, so.
Yeah, so
we should go visit.
It's so big. They're just
spaced
out
so much. It's big. Like if you're only going, I think if you're going for like a few weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, like it's almost, if you want to go cross country, you may as well just fly. Just get an internal flight. There is no point driving because it literally will take a huge. Although part of me has always wanted to do a road trip in America.
Route 66.
Yeah, because I've seen it, and they're like, these weird little side, weird giant yarn ball stuff.
We need that
yarn
ball.
Weird stuff. So I've always kind of been curious about doing just a road trip in America and just having fun with it,
From what I understand, you've got to do that's the Oregon kind of area.
Okay.
That's where all the weird and wonderful, all the cryptids are.
Oh yeah, got to get some Bigfoot
Get some
out there.
Bigfoot and Mothman. Mothman!
So, yes.
Well, yeah, I also hear there's some nice, sea view styly ones, and going down one of the coasts or something might end up in Philly or something like that, or
yeah, Philadelphia. Yeah, Philly is the East Coast. Yeah, that's where one of my friends actually lives.
Go smash the Liberty Bell or something. Ding ding.
Yeah.
I'll just keep going south or something.
Maybe we could even steal the Declaration of Independence. No, that's another film.
We're gonna get so arrested. Oh my lord.
Got to go to the Circle K. Cause some time travel shenanigans.
Yes. So yeah, lots of places we want to travel. We need all.
Comment below. Tell us where the heck to go.
Comment below. Give us some ideas so we don't just wander aimlessly around America looking for places. So yes, thank you, of course, again as always for the questions. It is really appreciated. Like I say every time, I'm running out of questions. So
give us more questions.
Yes, please do ask more questions. Anything you'd like us to discuss in the comment section below, and we'll obviously add those to the very small list now and get around to answering those. But yeah, thank you guys obviously for watching this month's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussions. Please let us know what you think about the things that we talked about, like we've already mentioned in these parts, and also the main features on Mass Effect and obviously on Destiny. And thank you, of course, Fish and Dante, for joining me again for this month's podcast. It's really appreciated. We'll be back again next month with our final podcast for the year. I have plans for that one, but I'm not sharing it right now. So yes, look forward to that. Take care, everybody. And as always, happy gaming. Bye, guys.
Bye.
We should go.